Hello again, friends! And you are our friends. You have nothing to complain about this week. And welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru, where the music gets you in the mood. I'm your host, the great Brian Last. We have a powerful, packed show for you today with this man, the leader of the cult of Cornette, Mr. Jim Cornette.
The mood to do what? Get it over with? What in the what? That was the most perfunctory. It didn't even have the like the cathedral sound, like the Notre Dame Cathedral. The fucking hunchback is coming. Wow.
That's the extended cut. That's the extended cut. Sometimes you got to just get to it. You got to go right for it.
It sounded like you were doing it with one finger. It was like the ice cream truck version.
Oh, stop it. That was good. That was a good one today. I know it was good.
No, there was no. You should have been the fucking Phantom of the Opera and the Ghost and Mr. Chicken on the organ keys. Da, 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 da. But instead it was beep, 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 beep. It sounded like you were handing out good humor fucking bars and sticks with frozen shit on it that the kids are supposed to. How the fuck did we avoid all goddamn as children just choking ourselves by eating the stick along with the ice cream? You know that there's still some people out there that would be stick eaters. If they don't, you know, they used to just hand them out everywhere on the corner, the guy in a truck, and you just stick that stick down your throat until you got to the end of it. How did children not die by the truckloads?
I don't know. I miss a lot of the good humor stuff that went away. Fat Frog. Do you remember? That was probably past your time. The good humor, fat frog.
No, the frog was still skinny when I had him.
They had the baseball glove with a piece of bubble gum in the middle. And it was like strawberry ice. It wasn't ice cream and it wasn't ices. I don't know what exactly the concoction was.
Baseball glove with a, what in the world
it was like
are you talking about?
It was a red baseball glove, you know, in terms of the look, with a baseball bubble gum piece in the middle.
Oh, I thought you meant a real baseball glove that the kids were supposed to somehow stick their face into and get the gum out of.
No, that was a guy in a different truck. That was a different truck on the street. I'm talking about the ice cream man.
It had this faint smell of ether in that glove.
The guy said he bought the truck from the Fabulous Ones, I believe.
Oh, no, it was Stan Lane's Whorehouse on Wheels. Probably still has some kind of a warrant. Yeah, that's what Christine Jarrett called it. And she told Jerry one time, she said, Stan Lane and Steve Kern have turned my Evansville parking lot into a whorehouse. That's where they were playing the music one time. They went through fucking 2.5 repetitions of Billy Squier, Everybody Wants You, because they changed the order of the matches. And because something happened to where somebody, I don't know what the fuck, but instead of going on last, the Fabs were going to go on next to last. They thought they had more time in their rolling apartment. And that was when nobody could find them. They're playing the fucking music. People are sitting there, what the fuck? And finally, Teeny goes out in the parking lot and she sees the van and she goes and she beats on the window. Here, music's playing. What were you saying?
Fat frog.
I don't know anything about the fat frogs. We've got some plump birds. We've been feeding the birds and the squirrels because the weather has been so frightful outside. We got some plump ones of those around here. It's been 260 hours, Brian, as I sit here right now, since it's been above freezing in the city of Louisville, Kentucky. And it may hit 34 here for about 15 minutes today, and then it's going to potentially snow again in the morning, just an inch or so. And then it's very cold.
Well, this has been the weather report.
That's the weather update.
Yeah. It's an exciting show.
I'm making medical progress. I told you I'd been to the doctor on the last program we did on the experience. I'm just about off of the steroid medication. I'm still taking the antihistamine, but my sore tendon in my arm has almost gone away completely. And I've crossed another medical thing off my list, the podiatrist, because I got that callus. The callus, it's got the The doctor said, I keep scraping it. Stacy gave me the toe scraper thing, the foot scraper thing. But it just won't that one spot there. He said, oh, they need to get in there and take the core of that out. I said, oh, can it core a apple? He didn't seem to get the reference. Oh, chef of the future. But he said, we're going to have the podiatrist set you up with an appointment. So they call me and they asked me a question. I said, well, I got the callus and the burning pain. I've been scraping it, but the whole thing won't go away. The doctor says you need to get the core out. Are you diabetic? No, I am not. I fear this is a good thing to say, right? I don't know. A positive, good, right? Whatever. No, I'm not diabetic. Oh, well, we can't see you. I said, what? I just turned invisible? No, our podiatrists are only working now, dealing with patients that are diabetic now. She gave me another name of some person that I could call, but as I've thought about it, I don't know if I'll just continue scraping the toe since it's not really bothering me and leave that core of thing alone for a while. It's such inclement weather. Why make myself more miserable? So I've scratched that off my list. What have you done on a positive fashion lately about your health?
About my health, I go to the doctors regularly. I make sure I'm in tip-top shape. I exercise. Well, I try to get some sleep every now and then.
Every now and then. Well, see, now imagine when you're my age. Remember you said you were amazed that I was in the health that I'm in for all of the dietary issues and other.
I had meals with you in the 90s. Yeah, I mean, I think it's wonderful and keep going, but it's shocking the shape you're in and the health you're in today. Considering.
Anyway, but I'll tell you what, Brian, before I know it's your show, but this has just come across the news desk over here. I've got a ticker tape from the Arcadian Vanguard headquarters, gives me all the news up to date to the minute, right? And this is closer to you now, but there is remember when I lived in Connecticut? Well, I was at the Monroe and Shelton area, very near Fairfield, right? You've heard of Fairfield. You've maybe driven through Fairfield, Connecticut.
I actually know it well, yeah.
Well, maybe it's changed the way it looks after what just happened here, because apparently, according to the Fairfield Police Department, I guess, is getting credit for this guy's picture. I don't know who the fuck is reporting this. Oh, News 12 Connecticut, ABC 7, etc. It's all
that's eyewitness news.
A snowplow driver in Connecticut is facing criminal charges after damaging property while using cocaine, a warrant alleges. A snowplow driver in Connecticut went on a wild ride while allegedly high on 3 bumps of cocaine, damaging a porch, 2 cars, and a garage, all on his first day on the job. Mark Kaine, 46 of Fairfield, was arrested on January 8th. This news is just making the wires here. But he was charged with reckless driving and operating under the influence. His arrest stems from an incident on December 28th at 7:15 a.m. when he was doing a snowplow job in his truck near Glen Ridge Road and Tom Moore Drive in Fairfield, according to a warrant. According to the warrant, he allegedly veered off the road onto the walkway of one house, drove across the front yard of that residence, and hit the front porch of the home next door, causing one side to fall.
3 bumps. What the hell was in that stuff? Jesus.
Ring camera footage, and then he hit 3 fucking different things. Oh, wow, there's a picture. I mean, you can see the picture. He ran into the garage door and apparently pushed the fucking car up onto top of bowed the door in and pushed one car on top of another car. But anyway, ring camera footage shows the truck hitting the front porch, driving over a stone wall and through the neighboring property. The truck can be seen on the video obtained by News 12 Connecticut, speeding across the street to another house where it slammed into a sedan in the driveway, pushing it into a closed garage and coming to rest under an SUV parked inside the garage.
Did he just lose control? Cocaine doesn't make you just go crazy and start driving onto people's properties.
Hold on now. He's got a story. Officers responding to a 911 call about the crash said they found Kaine sitting in his truck saying he had no idea that he was just involved in a collision. He's a what? I wasn't even there. Kaine allegedly had slurred speech and pinpoint pupils in both eyes, the warrant alleges. Soon after, he began to foam at the mouth and turn blue.
Jesus Christ.
Prompting an officer to give him Narcan and call for an ambulance. Inside the ambulance, Kaine allegedly fought with EMTs who had to tie him to the stretcher. He allegedly bit an officer's hands and arms, the warrant states.
That's always good. That's great.
So he's a member of the Blue Man Group, but he's become violent. Later, much later, apparently, Kaine told police that before he went to plow some driveways, he had a verbal argument with his girlfriend on the phone. He allegedly told police he did 3 bumps of cocaine, and the next thing he remembered was sitting in the truck in the driveway where police found him. Which, opens up, the one question is, you're on the phone with your girlfriend at 6 o'clock in the morning having a fight before you're going to fucking plow snow? What does she do?
On your first day of work.
Yeah, that's the thing, toxicology test. Done on him came back positive for the presence of cocaine, benzodiazepines, and cannabinoids.
When reached for comment, he said, well, they asked me to plow the snow.
Yeah. And if it don't snow, I can't go. The incident took place on Kaine's first day working for a landscaping company. The owner told police he hired Kaine the day before and told him to plow and sand 2 specific driveways, which he never did. Apparently, these were not even the driveways that he was supposed to be plowing.
See, that's the other funny part. There's some landscaper, and I know how this is how it works. When there's a big snowstorm, a lot of the landscapers, that's what they do in the winter. They have the thing to plow driveways. You see them going by. So this guy's getting calls from his clients like, hey, can you do our house? Can you do our house? And he sends over the new guy and he does the front lawn in the backyard. Hey, Julio, your guy's over here tearing up the place. I just hired him. I didn't know. I don't even know this guy. He said he needed a job. He's 46.
He is apparently he's off the team now. And
yes, while this happened in Fairfield, he apparently took the Vince McMahon driving course in Stanford to get here.
But see, that's it's another thing. I have not had my driveway plowed, A, because I don't know anybody particularly that has a fucking plow, and B, I got 4-wheel drive, and fuck it, it'll melt eventually. It's just, because how would you see my driveway as the turns and the twists, and how would you see where the goddamn drive is when it's all covered up with the snow? You can't really tell when it's a foot deep, so maybe he just figured that somebody built that fucking house in the middle of the road.
Man, if this guy cleans up his act and gets his life together, he's got the greatest story for the rest of his life. I mean, the next time he goes to a meeting, yeah, I really needed a job and I got a job and I lost the job in the same day because I woke up, I got into a big fight early in the morning with my girlfriend, so I figured, what the fuck, I'll just do a bunch of drugs, and then I ran over a bunch of people's houses and I lost my job. Oh, well.
Well, I think they said he's moving to New Jersey. He's going to start snow plowing in New Jersey.
There may be some competition. They may have some competition here. The whole thing is first day of work is the best thing. Got to make a good impression. Maybe he thought like the cocaine would give him like enough energy to like, I'll get this all done quick.
Yes, And he called his girlfriend to wake her up out of a sound sleep to tell her about it. And she said, "You fucking idiot, 6 o'clock in the morning." He's like, "Fuck, I'll do some more cocaine."
All right. Well, maybe, I actually don't know if, what are the effects of a human body on cocaine in freezing, frigid weather?
Well, do I look like either a
you look like the cocaine expert. That's what I'm saying here, Mr.
Well, no, do I look
expert.
like a doctor or a rock star from the 70s? I don't know if now they say. See, there is something to this question that you've asked here, because they say that the old fallacy of you see in the Western movies or on Gunsmoke, when a guy's out in the cold and they give him a slug of whiskey or whatever to warm him up, or people take a drink of whiskey to fortify themselves from the cold, that actually does the opposite. It gives you a momentary warming effect, and then because it violates or dilates your capsules or your corpuscles or your whatever those fucking little capillaries are, it makes you more susceptible to cold in the long runs. People that are trying to get drunk to get warm in the cold are going to freeze to death. So what would happen then if with the cocaine, would it then make you lethargic? Because if it is, I don't know.
This is how he's starting his day.
How would that? Well, yeah. Well, that's what he said. Also, now, bear in mind,
you think the day before may have never ended?
Well, that's just what he said that he did after he had to fight with his girlfriend and before he went to work. What kind of state was he in before all of that began? Somnambulism or fucking psychedelicism?
Too bad he didn't get to the Merritt. Then it really would have.
No, wait, on the Merritt Parkway, he wouldn't have stood out. It wouldn't really have stood out. If he could have got to the Merritt, he'd have been home free.
Well, I don't know if there's any merit to this story, but there it is, the sad arrest, the news of the arrest of the snow-taking, snow-plowing landscaper.
Woo, I'm a snow-taking, snow-plowing motherfucker.
Oh, it says here he's now been hired to be Tony Khan's driver.
Hey!
Let's move on from the news. Jim, before we have so much to cover here today, and of course, there are so many things to be covered in a box and mailed out from Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com.
There certainly are, and all those things are available at JimCornette.com. If you care to go and peruse the store, you will find my brand new book. Well, not brand new now, but still new. It's 4 months old. It's starting to walk by itself. Heroes and Friends and a variety of other things, but I haven't been pumping it heavy because just stay tuned, folks. You ain't seen nothing yet. The plans that Hotchkiss and I have for the next month or two with some never before seen things and opportunities. But until then, catch up for cheap prices and quality merchandise and fast service and all the rest of those things at JimCornette.com.
That's right, JimCornette.com and
Jim.com.
Jim, as we get things going here today, some sad news that I woke up to. Let me get your thoughts. Frankie Kaine, the Great Mephisto, the Inferno, various other names throughout his career, passed away. Born August 13th, 1932, he just passed away as we are recording. Any thoughts and memories of the Great Mephisto? Did you get to see the Great Mephisto live as the Great Mephisto?
Yes, and the answer, but first of all, he was 90. Now I just did the math, and now I've lost it. 93 or 94 years old, which was remarkable. And that's the thing. Scott Teal, our friend Scott over at crowbarpress.com, has known Frankie Kaine forever and has done a 2-volume biography, really in Frankie's own words, just long form interviews about his entire career. And it's fascinating because he was able to hang around the early days of in Ohio as a kid, the Al Haft era, the early Buddy Rogers era, the some of the guys that still had worked in the carnivals, and he did in the carnivals as a shooter or an athletic show plant. I mean, just the most basic levels of wrestling, all the way to, because he started so young as barely a teenager, and he did some boxing also. But point is, hanging around all these guys and knowing some of the real pioneers of the business, the fact that he lived so long, he was able to tell these stories about these guys that nobody else alive was still really ever personally in contact with, and then still had a career in wrestling up through the 80s until what at what point did really Mephisto quit getting booked? Because I'm pretty sure he had a bad back injury had caught up with him, because he was still, I saw him wrestle live.
I remember him in Georgia.
Well, I saw him in 77, and he wrestled after that.
Yeah, I think he may have been in Georgia in the maybe 1980, 81, but that may have been as a manager.
Well, yeah, but see, he was still being booked as a top heel manager in some of the territories in the early 80s, and because he also had a long and varied history as a booker. And as we've done more of the Scott's books, and I've looked through various records, and guys like Tim Dills and Mark James have done their books, and Frankie Kaine was an integral figure behind the scenes in a lot of the old-time Tennessee and Alabama area towns as the booker, as a promoter. He opened markets and ran various towns for different booking offices behind the scenes. But he really was, again, one of those guys that learned booking from the guys who really started the idea of booking, and then carried some of that basic knowledge into the fucking 70s. Where he go ahead.
Worked the carnival shows.
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. Troy Graham, the Dream Machine, had always told me about him, because Frankie Kaine was the booker for the Culkin family, the Curtises, when they were running Mississippi and they were on the outs with Watts. They were using their own talent. And Tom Shaft and
Freebirds.
The Dream Machine was Troy Hippie Graham, right?
Weren't the Freebirds there?
The Freebirds worked there early on. Sugar Bear Harris would be Kamala. But, guys like that Frankie Kaine would booked. And I mean, he knew the hard ways and the old fashioned shit also, but at the same time, he was more modern thinking and got way out with the Mephisto gimmick, which wasn't really, it wasn't a ripoff of the Sheik, as besides with the slave girls and the Arab attire, because he got into the wild spiritual when he was in San Francisco, the Aleister Crowley shit, which they thought he was doing their thing. And he had to fucking back off of that a little bit, because he was like, oh shit, these people are fucking crazy. But, he was just around almost everybody in the business, or at some point did something for 40 years. And the fire that not only was the fire that Mephisto did was compared to the Sheik, but Frankie Kaine had been one of the masked infernos in the 60s who threw the fire, hence the name the Infernos. And he was also the one that had the loaded boot. Although I think sometimes he'd switch back and forth and let the partner do it. But I remember reading in his book specifically that a lot of times, instead of having the loaded boot gimmick be what beat the babyface, the loaded boot would be what made it possible for him to beat the babyface. They'd knock the partner goofy and then hit a 2-on-1 or something else to where they still got heat for two different things. But he, whether it be boots, fire, the Mephisto, the masked gimmick, a booker behind the scenes, a finish guy, whatever. He had done everything.
Well, again, crowbarpress.com. Scott Teal has put out a couple of fantastic books. I believe they're called Raising Kaine. Again, the 2-volume long-form interviews with Frankie Kaine, all about his entire career. We encourage you to check that out, and we send our sympathies to the friends and fans of the Great Mephisto.
Gee, he almost outlived all of them. Probably has no fucking friend that he would have loved that piece of humor, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, but he probably outlived all of his friends and his fans.
Later on, I may have to spend a few minutes on Scott's website here. He has something I never saw before. Comic book superhero and heroes' first appearances and origins. This 12-volume collection consists of 1,306 public domain comic books from 1933 to 1967. All right, I may have to spend some time looking at this later on today.
I have not seen that myself. What can I just? I'll be back in 15 minutes. Or so.
I'll be back in 15 years. All right. We'll see what more we can find out about that. But Jim, I guess it's time that we get to one of the big main events here today. The Royal Rumble review. The Royal Rumble taking place in Saudi Arabia. There's obviously a time difference. Wasn't as bad as when the events are in the morning. I actually kind of started to enjoy the event in the afternoon. By the time the end was happening, it was dark here. Felt like nighttime. Let's talk about the Royal Rumble 2026 in Saudi Arabia.
Well, let's talk about the time controversy over there and try to figure, because obviously I did not watch this live, and thank God I would have gone on a rampage. You would have melted the snow, screaming at him, get the fucking point. But what time did it actually start Eastern time in the United States? What was the official start time here in our domain?
2 p.m.
Okay, so that means that apparently they started it at 10 o'clock at night in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, the actual town it was in, because it was a 4-hour show and it ended at 2 o'clock in the morning. Have you ever heard of advertising an event you got in a stadium is supposed to draw tens of thousands of people and it doesn't start till 10 o'clock at night?
And I think you hit on a few things there that we're going to talk about. One, just how many people were there. And two, if they're starting it that late, what does it mean when you do the largest fireworks show in history at the end? How many people did you wake up? How many people thought the war had begun?
Well, but also, here's another thing that somebody said, and I was like, wow, that's true. It's got to be true. Now, somebody can tell me if it is, but it's got to be when you think about it. It's Saturday night, right? So we're all going, well, it's Saturday night, people off work Sunday or whatever. There's no reason for people to be off work on Sundays in Saudi Arabia. They said in Saudi Arabia, Sunday is a work day for many people. Brian, why in the United States, a place you're more familiar with, is most people don't work on Sunday?
I mean, that goes back a long way. That's because of church. It was church day.
They don't believe in the same fellow. So why would Sunday be a day off for them? Now, somebody said that on the interwebs, but maybe now we can get our well-versed in global geography and religiosity experts out there to go, is Sunday a big deal in Saudi Arabia?
Actually, we've heard from several listeners who are in Saudi Arabia, so we do have an audience who listens there, so we'll hear from someone.
So otherwise, they're keeping these people out till 2 o'clock in the morning, and then while people are just snoozing, even if they're not part of the festivities, they get the fireworks.
Again, we'll get there. That's the very end of the night. But no, we actually, I'm trying to pull it up now. The Cult of Cornette Facebook group, there was something written in by one of the Saudi Arabian listeners about just a miserable experience at the show trying to get water. Apparently water wasn't readily available for everyone.
Well, here's another. They built a stadium in a month to hold 25,000 people is what they said on the broadcast. So we'll go with that. 25,000. They built a stadium to hold 25,000 people from a parking lot in a month. Did they have time to put in the state-of-the-art concessions that the big arenas are used to? Oh, I'll go out and get the overpriced food and massive schlongy hot dogs and whatever the fuck. Or did they include that part? Or basically, here's a goddamn stand with a pitcher. Hold your cup out.
Well, Jim, I have a letter here. I'll read it. This is from Khalid F. Al-Bogami in Saudi Arabia. He's a member of the Cult of Cornette Facebook group. We've heard from him in the past.
I recognize his name.
Hi, Jim Cornette. You're going to think I'm exaggerating. I swear to God, I'm not. So I'm in Riyadh. I buy my ticket. I do the responsible adult thing. I show up early, like 5 p.m., because usually the show starts around 7 and wraps by midnight. I'm thinking, eat, grab water, catch the pre-show, vibe, then go home and sleep like a functioning member of society. Brother. They decided to start the show at 10 p.m.
It's okay.
Not 7, not 8, not 9, 10. In a country where Sunday is a work day for a lot of people. So the crowd looks like it's been drafted into a shift at a factory, and the main event hasn't even clocked in yet. And then the real main event began, finding water. There was basically a water shortage. And if you wanted a bottle, you had to stand in a line in front of a restaurant like you're rationing supplies in a 1970s documentary. I'm not even being poetic. I was literally thinking, so, this is how civilizations fall. The funniest part? They didn't use the established arena setup they usually use for WWE shows. Nice dining areas, proper bathrooms, and most importantly, water in a desert country. Indeed, some genius said, you know what the fans want? Barracks in a parking lot in the financial district so the camera can look at the nice buildings. So there I am, a grown man, a paying customer, roaming a parking lot like a dehydrated extra from a post-apocalyptic movie, thinking, do I want a burger? No, I want water, damn it! By the time the show finally started, I was already drained. And here's the part that makes me sound like a quitter. I tapped out and went home. I left after the women's match. Not because I'm not a fan, but because I've got a transplant patient to look after the next day, and it's almost midnight, and I'm standing in a parking lot waiting for permission to hydrate. So yes, I left the Royal Rumble event early because I'm a doctor and I need sleep. Please clip that, frame it, and hang it in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Shame. If they ever do WrestleMania like that, I'm predicting an epic logistical disaster. Biblical proportions, like the Book of Exodus. But it's just me searching for a water bottle. Regards, from Khalid.
Oh my God. So that brings up they're going to do WrestleMania over there in like what, a little over a year? And I found out, apparently it's been reported that the reason why they did it, the do-it-yourself stadium, was because they have 4 stadiums in that fucking town, and they all 4 had soccer games that day. Did you see this?
I did not see that. I'm not surprised. Again, the Kingdom, the Prince, Riyadh season, all of this, it's about spending endless amounts of money to get as much stuff there all the time. But I'm not surprised.
But I don't know whether the government was behind all of the soccer games, but on
absolutely, they're behind all of. Nothing happens over there without the government approving it.
But then what kind of stupid scheduling is that? Where they could certainly have figured out, if we're going to spend however much it was for the Royal Rumble, because they get 50 million for just the normal shows. So 100 million, whatever the fuck. Put it in a regular stage. Just don't have the 3 soccer games going on that day. How are they all running this stuff against other stuff?
I bet the soccer players had water.
Well, but besides that, WrestleMania, they're used to being able to report a crowd of 50 or 60 or 70,000 or whatever, the big stadium, blah, blah, blah. Now, because they're getting paid, but are they going to give that, and here's a piss hole and a snowbank and a part-time or a temporary stadium, and people are lined up across the street to get a bottle of water?
Well, I got to think for WrestleMania, it has to be a bigger and better setup than this. I was surprised. We knew they were building a stadium from scratch. Stadium, if we're going to call it that. I didn't know about all the stadiums they have there being filled up, but even if you get past the idea that at times it looked empty, whether it was or wasn't, and we'll get into that, it didn't seem like that impressive a crowd. For a country paying all this money to TKO for the rights to have these events over there, it's a sold show. They buy the show. WWE is not getting any money off the gate or anything else. It's a sold show. For them to do it in front of 20,000 people, and it doesn't even look like it at times, and then you find out it's the middle of the night over there
against 4 soccer games,
it makes you it's almost like I hate to bring politics into this, although he wasn't a politician yet. When WrestleMania was at Trump Plaza, the energy was lacking because Donald Trump and all the other high rollers were sitting ringside. They weren't wrestling fans. You had people just staring at the ring. You didn't have people reacting the way WWF fans at that time in 88 and 89 were reacting.
That was the biggest news coming out of those WrestleManias in the business and amongst people who followed the inside of the business was, Jesus Christ. It was just a deathly pallor of an atmosphere.
And at times, the atmosphere for the Royal Rumble was questionable, and at other times, the fans were really into it. Now, it seemed to be about 99% male. I saw a couple young children who were girls. I don't know if I saw any adult women there. But I guess we should talk about it now. The question going around about, was it full? Was it empty? Were the reflectors on the seats causing people to think seats were empty because they were seeing that whitish, grayish pad? It seemed to me at times there were a lot of people not in seats. And then at other times it seemed full. And at other times the lights it seemed empty. So what are your thoughts on all this?
It's blowing my mind, man. They're there and then they're not, and there's people and I'm hitting and they're in my head, man. I was going to basically ask you the same thing. I was going to say, what's your impression of how many people were there? Because I stared and then I thought, and then I looked and looked back. And I at one point thought that they were auditioning or trying out some kind of new goddamn AI bullshit to fuck us up some kind of way so they didn't have to fucking have people in the building. All of those things that you said have some semblance of contribution to this. And the reason why we're going into this is because that was a big topic online and amongst fans watching. All the empty seats. Well, there aren't any empty seats. Well, there are. And optical illusions did come into play in some of this. It was a self-inflicted wound because the way they built the stadium and the seats, there is some odd round white dot. Would that be the way you would describe it? Just a round white dot?
I don't know how round. It looked almost like the corners may have been rounded, but almost rectangle or square.
Well, see, goddamn, it's like one of these things. When you look at this, do you see a fucking green bullfrog or a goddamn orange kangaroo? It's insane. Early on in the show, there was a camera shot where I thought, wow, there's a bunch of empty seats. But then later on, when they shot that same section with different lighting, I could see there was people in it. There was an element of optical illusion with the reflector or whatever the fucking diagram was on those seats and the seating configuration, where it's like the lighting effect they had on a big show several months ago. We called out it draws your eye to that, and you can't tell whether there's people in the seats. But then again, having said that, there were shots that I saw that it didn't look like there was anybody, but maybe they were all out roaming around trying to find water. There wasn't vast sections of empty seats, but it seemed like there were empty seats, viewable empty seats, visible in a number of places throughout the show. How many bathrooms if it was that much trouble to get a drink, how far do you have to go and how long do you have to wait to take a piss? And again, that's something in a temporary stadium. What the fuck? You can't have extensive plumbing done in that amount of time, even if you got slave labor working 24 hours a day and try to build a pyramid. It's just not possible, right?
And they had such an impressive stage. It may be the most impressive stage they've ever had for a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, well, see, they're used to putting those up and taking them down in several days. Big television productions, it's all portable, but not fucking plumbing and goddamn facilities.
And again, the way those pads, monitors, whatever you want to call them, it almost looked like they were mapping the room for like CGI, like to get rid of the crowd and put something else in its place. But there were definitely times where I was very consciously trying to look next to the pad, because the pad was not really bright, but bright enough that it, like you said, your eye went there. And sometimes next to it, you would see a dot. And sometimes there was clearly nothing there. You would almost think they were bringing in people by like the wave. Like, all right, your turn, you in, now you're out, well, you in, you out. I don't know what would cause that, but there were definitely times where it looked packed and I saw people post photos. Look at how empty it is. And it's them shooting the fans behind them and it looks packed. And then I know what I saw. And there were other times where it was clearly an illusion or something caused by those pads that caused you not to see human beings.
And I know it's as a guy once said that was working out here, well, it's a tropical illusion. But you couldn't get a good grip on it as to, but again, there could have been not major exoduses of, like thousands of people in the same section, but lots of people roaming around trying to find food, water, and a fucking pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of. But it's still not, that crowd was not the level of what we have come to expect size-wise of one of these major events, but they grossed however many tens of millions of dollars more than if they'd had 70,000 people there in, a major football stadium in this country, because this is the biggest county fair show Brian ever held. A fair show. That's what we always wanted. All the territories, well, like Vern didn't and Vince, Senior didn't, but the Southern territories and even out in Texas, you wanted fair shows where every time that the county fair came once a year in the summer or fall, the entertainment board for the county fair would line up the entertainment, whether it's fucking bands playing or fucking skydivers or whatever. Wrestling was a big deal, and we could plug it on television and get their people to go to their fair and blah, blah, blah. And I've done fair shows for $1,200. I've done them for $10,000. And it didn't matter, because if you knew what you were getting, you just put enough people on a card and gave them enough that you could still make money. And that's what, OVW, we did that. In Smoky Mountain, we went and set up at fair board conventions early in the year when they were booking their talent, and boom. And this is just, how much How many more times is $50 million than $5,000?
See, this isn't the county fair. This is the state fair. It's a bigger deal.
Well, okay then. I never sold a state fair show, but I've worked on a couple. Crockett, I think, got 50 grand from the Indiana State Fair. Or what? No, was it the Ohio State? Nevertheless.
They didn't have any oil. That's the difference right there. So they couldn't necessarily give you a stupid amount of money.
But the point is, it's still the same thing. It's a bought show. And instead of working in a mud field followed by the what do they call it? The goddamn bungee jumping off of the fire truck lift immediately after the matches, they had fireworks.
Well, we'll get to those big fireworks at the end. So I guess in conclusion, on the question of if there were fans there or not, your answer is?
There was a lot of them. I don't think the place was jam-packed, but I think also there was somewhat of an optical illusion that led you. And then maybe as we find out that it started going on 2 a.m. in the morning, some of them may have started trickling out already. So all of these things are true.
Well, Jim, of course, the opening match at the Royal Rumble was the Women's Royal Rumble, one of my favorite women's matches of the year. It's always lots of fun. You get to see who's really good. You get to see who's really bad. What did you think of this year, the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble?
Are you just trying to pep me up to go into this thing? Well, it's always one of my favorite matches of the year.
It's fun. It's fun. It's the Women's Royal Rumble.
What he did? Oh, geez. Oh, Pete. Here's what I did this year. Because I say this every time, this year, even just this time, I say this every time that we have to do this, where there's a Royal Rumble or an Elimination Chamber or some goddamn cataclysmic ball of doom match, that we got to have the girls do it before the guys do it. Now you've seen 2 of them and So what I decided to do this year was, so that it wouldn't spoil the taste in my mouth for a Royal Rumble, I would watch the Men's Rumble first, and then I'd watch the Women's Rumble. Okay. And then, Brian, I'll have you know.
Does this mean you gave it a chance?
No, because then I was about to say, I'll have you know, it had the opposite effect, because the Men's Rumble was so fucking boring that it killed it for me for the Women's Rumble. But I put it on, I jotted down who was in it, and I watched it closely for the last 5 minutes. Because did I mention, no, I haven't, but I will, this thing went 1 hour. 1 hour and fucking 15 fucking minutes.
With new people coming in to keep it fresh. It's a fun match. It's the Royal Rumble.
What the fuck with new people coming in to keep it fresh?
You never know who it could be. Will it be the person you saw last week on TV or a surprise Bella? You don't know. That's the mystery of the Rumble.
Well, the mystery to me is why that they can't. Why don't they do it like Dusty? Remember when every year Dusty had the Bunkhouse Stampede Battle Royals? All the guys, 25 or 28 of them or whatever, and they got dressed up in their bunkhouse gear, and they had a big bunkhouse battle royal.
And the same guy won every year.
Well, not all of them. Sometimes some of the other guys won some of the battle royals, but he won the big one. But nevertheless, in the fall of 80 or the winter of 88, he did the manager's bunkhouse battle royal because he realized he had like 7 managers. It was me, Paul E., Humperdinck, Gary Hart, Paul Jones, J.J. Dillon. I'm leaving somebody else out. And we had
Gary
battle royals. Did I say Gary? Well, if I didn't say Gary Hart was in there. And the point is, it didn't last long. It was a little mini version. It was like an appetizer, a little soupçon, a poo-poo. And then they had, instead of 6 managers, they had 20 fucking 5 guys or whatever in the rec. Why can't we do 10 women Royal Rumble. Just give me the top 10.
Why? The one that they're doing works. Everyone seems to like it. Again, it's one of the more enjoyable matches of the year, usually.
How are you? Who is now paying you to say these things, Brian? Have you been contacted by some giant PR firm?
All right, let me try to get you off your little negative train because we haven't even talked about EO Sky yet, so I know your negative train is going to derail and take a bunch of other trains with it. Let me ask you this. 2 questions.
Yes.
Based on what I watched and what I saw, are you impressed with Sol Ruka? Ruka? I actually don't know how to pronounce her last name. I do this every time. Sol Ruka, I believe it is.
Yes.
And also, while everyone else is raving about it, did you think Lash Legend kind of looked not ready? I don't know. Those are my 2 big thoughts.
I have continued to think that Lash Legend, because remember I said we saw her in developmental. We started watching this fiasco fucking 5-6 years ago. And she was doing the Wendy Williams talk show takeoff. But then I said here a couple months ago, if this is good as they've got her in 5 years, I don't think she's going to live long enough. And that's the thing, is that you've got talent in this match, much like the men's match, which we'll talk about in great detail. And the girls, I think it hurt the girls. They had more time than the guys did to actually do anything, because all their fucking entrances took 3/4 of the time they had before the next guy comes in. But in this case, we had to see it, just all of these girls do a lot of these things that nobody has any business of doing. And 30 is too many for too long. I don't want to see anything for an hour and 15 fucking minutes. As Charlotte started out first, I don't want to see her for an hour and 15 minutes if it means going through 29 other women. And Alexa Bliss and Kiana James and our friend
James,
Fridge.
She was great. Actually, that's the first time I've seen her in some SmackDown matches, but it's the first time she really impressed me. She looked great in there.
Well, you got to remember that after I've seen the Big Rumble, and the Big Rumble wasn't very big, I'm also zoning out on a lot of this. But
you're just hating everything. This is awful. You're not giving anything a chance.
Let's
go when some of your favorites are coming. Come on, let's go.
When I mention this list of names, I want you to stop me. When I get to someone that you think should be at a main event pay-per-view match just on their own, not because they're part of just a megalopolis of fucking people in the match, but on their own, who needs to be
main eventer, you're saying? Big
time main event match.
Right now.
Charlotte.
Well, you're saying right now, or do I predict this for the future for this person?
No, right now.
Right now.
Who is a main eventer? And somebody that it's a goddamn $100 million fucking fair show, right? It is a big pay-per-view premium live event all around the world. If we got to watch them for an hour, who needs to be in it? Charlotte Flair, yes or no?
Main eventer, yes.
Alexa Bliss.
Not for me, but WWE's used her as a main eventer, and their fans seem to react to her and her silliness.
Kiana James, excellent showing here or no?
Excellent showing here, but not a main eventer.
Okay, Nia Jax.
Unfortunately, they've used her as a main eventer. I wouldn't.
Ivy Nile.
Not a main eventer.
Lola Vice.
Not currently a main eventer.
Candy LaRue.
Not a main eventer.
Jordan Grace. She came in and dumped some people. A jury may be out.
Jury out. She was a main eventer in NXT. They brought her up pretty quickly. They signed her from TNA. So I don't think you could say no.
Okay, but at the same point, we're 8 in already. Becky Lynch. That's a gimme.
Yes.
Sol Ruka. You asked about old Sol.
I would say no right now. I think she's going to be, but we're talking about right now, she's not a main eventer.
Well, yeah, and they're clearly pushing her toward that point. And she's a very vivacious, blonde, California surfer girl type. I don't know what the fuck. She's got the gymnastics, and that's I hate that fucking little flip she does in the corner because it's so preposterous. I mean, it just defies logic, and your eyes go, what the fuck? Why would that work? And that's why she's doing it, because it's different, but it's fake, but she don't care it's fake because she's in the new generation and she's a gymnast and she thinks everybody thinks it's supposed to be cool and it doesn't matter if it's fake. But having said that, I don't think she has completely natural wrestling instincts yet of any kind. So I would suggest that she's still going to be green for a while and hopefully she'll get it. But she's not one of these girls like a Becky Lynch that wanted to be a wrestler from a young age, from what I can deduce. Anyway, back to, we got like 3 main eventers in the first 10. Roxanne Perez.
You said on her own, not with something, so I can't say like with Judgment Day.
Model girl. I don't care if they put 18 belts on her or how they push her. She is a lost ball in high weeds, and I do not want to watch her in a wrestling ring.
Not a main eventer.
And Natalia, best worker in the bunch, but not exactly. It's this person's going to set the gate on fire.
And I like her as a heel. I like what they're doing with her right now.
Liv Morgan.
Main eventer, absolutely.
Main eventer.
One of the biggest stars in the entire company.
I'll give it to you. Lash Legend.
Not a main eventer.
Let's go back to the talk shows. Zelina Vega.
Not a main eventer.
Rochelle stopped by on her way from Milan to Minsk. They're pushing her.
I'm not. I would say she's a main eventer, actually.
I would be willing to entertain the prospect.
And I think they're using her so well right now. I think she's a main eventer.
We're already halfway in. We got better than halfway. We got 5. Chelsea Green is the Buddy Landell of the roster. She's just swell and entertaining. Julia.
Yeah. That's complicated. I think they want her to be a main eventer. They booked her as a main eventer in NXT. They quickly brought her up, and she's doing that tag stuff with Kiana James.
You know what, Mama Cornette, you say about wanting, don't you?
No.
You want in one hand and shit in the other one, see which one's going to fill up first.
I'm going to stick with the hand with the want, I think, than the hand with the shit.
There you go. And in number 20, Io Sky.
Main eventer.
And again, I wouldn't watch. But then we get number 21, Oscar.
Main eventer.
22, Rhea Ripley. Now I'm just pissed.
Main eventer, one of the biggest stars in the company. She may have gotten the biggest pop of anyone coming out for this.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. She's an international yacht broker from Toulon, France. She's a superstar. She would have got a fucking huge pop if they had a goddamn match with her and one of the other main eventers. That could have gone 20 minutes tops. But nevertheless, they have turned her again. Did I say it the other day? Instead of this star of a Tarantino movie, she's become the big buddy to the little buddy of a Japanese Gilligan.
What was up with? Did you notice her nose was painted red? Rhea had a weird look. I don't give a crap. Some people are like, "Oh, it's a reference to some horror movie." I don't give a shit. She came out there with her nose was red. It looked like she was crying. It wasn't good.
It matched her eyes, but I didn't know why the fuck her eyes looked like that. I'm assuming, like you are, like you said, that it was some homage to some kind of movie that we're too old and white to know about. But it wasn't a good. No, I don't want to see her in the middle of all this shit. And then Bailey came out.
I would say main eventer, although they don't always use her that way. You could always put her in a main event and it works, and she works like a main eventer.
Well, yes, but it's Jane Wayne Gacy, Nikki Bella.
Legend.
Nikki Bella.
Not just main eventer, legend.
Yeah.
All-time legend. Hall of Famer.
There are many things that are legends. Legends that existed before, that the stories have been passed down, like goddamn cholera. I don't want to bring it back. Then Lyric.
Not a main eventer.
Then Kehlani Jordan.
Not currently a main eventer.
Then Carrie Sane.
Not a main eventer.
Then Brie Bella. So they got both Bellas. Now, which Bella has been here and which one had just come back? Because at this point, I'm putting negatives in sleeves. It's just running in the background.
Nikki's been here for a little while. Brie's the one married to Bryan Danielson. She has not come back.
But she's allowed. It don't count in Saudi Arabia. She can cheat on the relationship. Right? Because it's across the international date line.
I don't think that's
why they call it the international date line. That's where you cross that line, you can date other people.
This isn't like a Vegas thing. That's not why they call it the international date line. But let's get back. We have more main eventers to talk about.
Well, boy, they called it that when they used to charge me $5.99 a minute. But anyway, then it was Tiffy time.
Main eventer.
And then all 30 were in. And it continued going from there forever. There were people, obviously, that had been eliminated at that point. But again, an hour, and almost exactly an hour and 15 minutes from the first entrance to the final, we get to the point of the matter. But in the last 5 minutes, as I've jotted down, they've taken Rhea from one of the 5 top stars in the company of any gender or genre to a member of the women's roster. And, bleh. So we got Lash Legend, Rochelle, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Sol Ruca, and Tiffany. And Rhea dumped Lash. Okay, boom. And then Rochelle picked Rhea Ripley up in like that choke slam Tejano bomb or whatever. But did you see the choke slam over the top rope to the apron and then the floor? Yeah, it was somewhat controlled, but still a little fucking dangerous.
Well, bump on the apron so she didn't take the bump on the floor, I guess. But
well, yes, I know that, but sometimes people's aims are off here lately. But besides that, it was just, to me, it was abrupt when the one thing that Pat Patterson would do, and also his original version had 20 guys, but he would not only give the people who needed to make an impact spots built into the match when he laid it out to make an impact, but he would also protect guys and or girls who needed to be protected by making sure that when they got dumped, it wasn't unceremonious and it was something big or something understandable or suited the fucking moment. And yes, it's nice that Rochelle dumped Rhea because Rochelle is getting the push, but it was a little abrupt. Okay, boom, here we go. Okay, see you later. And then Liv dumped Rochelle. I mean, who landed on her feet and stood there and stared because they're friends in the Judgment Day. And so that's obviously going to lead to something, but that was a little flat-footed, a little flat. It was like,
You thought so? I didn't think it was that flat.
I think they could have set up where she was, Rochelle was about to really do something big to somebody and let Liv fucking slip in rather than just, here we go.
Hey, just curious in advance, did you fast forward through the men's match at all? Or did you see the Brock Lesnar elimination?
Oh, I saw it, although they tried hard to discuss it.
Okay, that's...
Yes, no.
Yeah.
No, I watched the men's Rumble. That's why I was so sick of fucking Royal Rumbles after watching the men's Rumble. Usually it works the other way. This time it had a negative effect.
I think this is one of those ways WWE gets it right. You should watch these events live, because if you experience the women's one first, you'll enjoy it, and it won't bother you when you get to the men's one hours later after all those commercials.
I wouldn't have really enjoyed this anyway, though. So, because they were down to Liv and Saul and Tiffy, which now we've got 3 blonde cheerleaders in there. And I hate to say this, but Liv would be the experienced veteran. So all of a sudden it was a bunch of fucking wild blonde hair waving sloppy shit. And I don't know what some of them were trying to fucking do. They really can't wrestle, but if you need a cartwheel or a round off or a handspring, boom, they can do it, Olympic level. And then they all 3 got on the apron and did the stagey tease fight thing where, ooh, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down, until Tiffy knocked Saul off, and then Liv knocked Tiffy off, and Liv lived to rumble another day. But I didn't even mention the clothing, but I'm sorry, an hour and 15 minutes of watching girls do spots with each other just meaninglessly, it tips me over the edge, and especially when they're wearing, now they've got designers working on full body scuba suits that start at the neck and go all the way to the wrists and the fucking ankles, but at least have some type of design to them that it's not like they would ever wear anything like this on purpose still, but it's like it matches their normal colors. But it's just yeah, I thought 10 or 12 girl rumble, like the manager's bunkhouse, and then just get to the meat of the matter.
They have a big roster of women. They have to do this. And again, it's good. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. You didn't give it a chance. You didn't give it any chance at all. How many women into the match did you start fast forwarding?
I just left it sit when I was kind of listening to see if anybody, oh my God, she's dead. Otherwise, I was doing chores.
Yeah, again, you didn't give it a chance. You watched it and listened until you heard someone had died, and it didn't happen, so you didn't watch it.
Well, and maybe that was a good luck charm, see? So as long as I don't pay any attention, nobody will get seriously hurt.
I thought this was really good. I enjoyed it. I think Sal Ruka is a star. She should have worn a wetsuit like Medusa used to wear before she got to the WWF.
They couldn't find any water.
Very good point. There goes stuff falling off my desk. Good match, though. And Liv Morgan won, so she gets a title match at WrestleMania. One of the biggest stars in the company. I thought it was a lot of fun.
And there's going to be problems there in the Judgment Day with her and her giant Kevin Nash bodyguard type.
And Roxanne
but
in the middle.
Now, who are the women's champions currently?
Stephanie Vaquer and Jade Cargill.
So which one do you think that Liv Morgan is going to want to fight? And which one she better pick Stephanie unless she wants to get potatoed, but she'd only have to go about 7 or 8 minutes.
I think she has to pick Stephanie too, although I'd worry about the build up to that match being the fans turning against Stephanie because of Liv.
Yeah.
Even though she's a heel. How is one going to keep up with the other on the mic or anything? But
it's kind of like handsome Jimmy Valiant as a heel against Joey Rossi.
Boy, no one has put down Joey Rossi on a podcast more in a quarter of the year than Jim Cornette has in the last quarter of the year. But that was the Women's Royal Rumble, and Jim.
Yes.
You didn't really watch it. You wrote down names. You passed judgment on the names, then you asked me to do the same. But what if you had done this in advance? What if you had written down the names and made a pick? And what if I told you that pick could win you some prizes? Maybe then you would have watched the Rumble and paid attention. But either way, there are more things for you to pick in the future. The big game is coming up. Jim, you know what I'm talking about. Our good friends at Prize Picks.
I thought you were talking about me picking my nose. I'll tell you something. I would have made some picks about that. If I had skin in the game, then I'd have paid more attention. If the girls had had some skin in the game, I might have paid more attention. But folks, if you got something riding on things, then you pay a little bit more attention. And this week, Prize Picks has got a special max discount for the big game live in the app right now. I'll have you know, from what I'm being told, Drake May just needs one passing yard for the max discount to win. That max discount, of course, brought to you by Maxwell Jacob Friedman. He's spread some of his riches around and sponsored this thing.
No association, no sponsorship, let's be clear.
I thought that's why they called it the max discount. Or I guess they'd have called it the MJF discount. Folks, if you download the Prize Picks app right now and you go down there and you make your picks, it's simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in. You can find your community on Prize Picks with the new social feeds feature. You've seen the social feeds feature, Brian. That's where they're getting a lot of people, especially in the wintertime where the weather's cold. They're getting homeless people and people that need fed together.
That's
and
not what it is
they're
at all.
feeding the whole society.
That's
and it's
not what it
it's
is.
A social atmosphere.
No.
And then they go around asking all these people who they think's going to win the big game. And that's how they determine their odds.
It's not that sort of social atmosphere. It's the social atmosphere like a Tony Khan burner account. It's online.
Well, there's a new feature alert for the folks that Prize Picks now has the early payouts. We've been talking about this. You can get your money before the game even finishes. Of course, once again, you're playing with fire there. If a Hail Mary happens, you're going to have people looking for you for that. But don't buy a home with that money yet. And if you're missing your fantasy team, if the league is already over with Prize Picks, you don't have to wait until next year's draft to keep playing fantasy. You can have a fantasy every night in the privacy of your own home, under the covers, in the dark. They let you play fantasy football every week, even in the playoffs. So pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections and you get your fantasy. What baseball players do you like to fantasize about, Brian?
I don't fantasize about players. Fantasize is not necessarily the word I would use.
Oh, well, it's the fantasy. But life is just a fantasy. And Aldo Nova will tell you that. So, folks, right now, download the Prize Picks app today and use the code JCE. You're going to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's 10 to 1. You get 10 more than what you put in. Play your first $5 lineup, get $50 in lineups with the code JCE at Prize Picks. And then, again, whether it's LeBron or Patrick Mahoney or any of these people that you people fantasize about, well, now you're going to win prizes off of them. Off of the backs of their hard work, you're going to profit. So I hope you people are proud of yourself. And Prize Picks is going to enable your ridiculously evil scheme to make these people make you rich off of their hard work by giving you 10 to 1 what you're playing. I think the whole thing ought to be investigated.
No investigations are needed. And again, sometimes the train goes off the tracks, but we could all get back on the train and maybe they send a ferry or a bus, but how do we get back to where we were going? Prize Picks is away, ladies and gentlemen.
You get on the bus.
No matter what the weather.
Then, of course, the ferry got on the bus, but we're not talking about that.
No, we're not. And what we are talking about is a great deal for the listeners, Jim. The big game coming up. Without any further metaphorical funnies, why don't we let the listeners know about this great deal?
Yes, once again, download the Prize Picks app. We got that, right? We know to do that. Do it today, because you'll forget. And use the code JCE to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's the code, the JCE, 50 to 5. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
All right. Well, Jim, Again, there were lots of matches to make picks on. Let's continue on here with the Royal Rumble.
Gunther versus AJ Styles with his career on the line in a one-on-one match was my favorite thing that I've seen here in the last week or two. Because we had an actual wrestling match amongst guys that can actually wrestle. And the fans there, however many were there, whatever the official total may be, they were into it because they were chanting, "This is awesome," before they locked up, when the bell, and they were, I wish they would have stopped hopping, as a matter of fact, because they were goddamn distracting me. But I don't know how else to say it, but I can see Gunther working any place that I ever watched wrestling. And I can see Gunther working in 1950 in Chicago against Buddy Rogers. If you can see him in black and white and imagine one of those old, the Chicago films, he's timeless. He would work in any territory. There's nothing he does that's the modern blah or that's dated in any way. It's just he's a serious athlete who doesn't do funny ha-ha and has logical fucking matches. Whether it's the big heavy hands or the goddamn cardio that he's got where he stays involved in shit. I've said he looked like Gene Kaniski. But you can see him working it in Florida in 1980, right? Same shit he's doing now with somebody else, from the territory at that time, or the Carolinas in the 70s, or whatever. And AJ is not, John Cena or Steve Austin as far as level of star power at the box office, but he's been there a long time, and so they treat him as a main event guy and consider him that. And he can fucking work, and he's still athletic enough that he can do shit. And I mean, I made a lot of notes on the back and forth, and it would just sound like a boring play-by-play, but they had a wrestling match. AJ takes a hell of a backdrop. When is the last time you saw somebody just take a fucking backdrop? I can't tell you the last match I saw that didn't have somebody diving over the top rope out on the floor like a fucking idiot. But I can't remember the last time I saw somebody take a backdrop. The most basic, common pro wrestling move in the history of pro wrestling moves. But they didn't have to do ridiculous shit here, and they didn't need furniture. And Gunther, obviously, is the big guy that stayed on AJ and was physically dominant most of the time, but AJ would have anything from a hope spot to a small comeback before Gunther would take back over. And then AJ could fight from underneath again, but then AJ gets his calf crusher hold, and Gunther gets the sleeper. And they start kicking it up and start getting some 2 counts. But again, they escalated the level of the conflict, and toward the point of time where they were almost done, Gunther was just had vicious heat going and just chopping the shit out of him in the corner. Pow, pow. And the referee be checking him, and he's selling, and the fans are chanting, "Let's go, AJ." And Gunther wouldn't let up, and then AJ would fight back. That's wrestling. Jesus, it's not hard to figure out. And when Gunther caught sleeper, AJ fought up. Gunther took him back down. And then AJ tried to get to the ropes, but he couldn't. And then he passed out. And the only thing, honestly, that I didn't like about this match was, and it fits Gunther, I know, and that's why I give it a pass, as it wasn't just completely bullshit. But there's so many modern finishes that are just stationary finishes. It, like I said, it worked better here than most, but I'm not a fan because it's especially flat when the heel wins that way. You may, I know they're trying to be like mixed martial arts and build the tension. Oh, he's in a submission hold. Is he going to tap or is he going to whatever? Is he going to tap? But God damn it, I miss the days when you could get either that elation of the babyface winning 1, 2, 3 when it was called for, or the fucking hope of the babyface with the fans until the last second he's gonna win it, and then the heel takes it right out from under him 1, 2, 3, and I dash their hopes. It's like, oh. With these stationary finishes, is he gonna tap? Is he not? Will he make the ropes? Whatever. Yes, it can build some drama, but also people have time to see it coming. And when you see it coming, whether it's what you want to see or what you don't want to see, you reconcile yourself to it enough to where that it's not a big explosion either way. It's more like the foregone conclusion that you figured 10 seconds ago was going to take place. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense. It is a standard finish at this point that we're seeing more and more. Moxley's matches, Gunther's matches.
So are 4 ways and 3 ways and fucking, everything else they over fucking do. And it actually, if somebody was going to do it, I'd have Gunther be the one to do it. So it fits him, but it's always now. But nevertheless, a clear babyface, a clear heel, both main event guys, both can fucking work. Both were serious about what they did. Both were hitting hard in safe places and stiff and emotional with their work. And it went 25 minutes, but it didn't seem like it because it wasn't guys just doing shit to each other over and over at 100 miles an hour and kicking out of everything and lacking in logic. It was a fucking little ride there we took from the beginning to the end. So this was my favorite thing. And Sammy and Drew we'll talk about in a minute, which it didn't suck pond water, but I think Gunther is the perfect wrestler. So I got a little bit bigger of a tickle out of this.
In terms of it being the last match for AJ Styles, what do you think?
Well, but now
another guy getting this specific send-off.
Well, but I'm getting mixed signals sent to me because they gave him a big ovation after Gunther left the ring and fans are singing for AJ and everything. And he makes a production out of taking his gloves off and the fans are like, no, no, no. And then he put his gloves back on. Well, what does that mean? Did he lie or what? He left the ring, then he came back and he posed on a turnbuckle. And then but he didn't take his boots off. I guess the gloves were going to be the boots, but he took the gloves off, but then he put the gloves back on. Has he changed his mind? Is he going to say, well, I just can't leave you now? That would be kind of kabuki-ish. So he said he was going to retire this year. Then he said he would put his career up against Gunther. And then he lost in the match. And then he takes his gloves off. So why don't he put them down in the ring? Why did he put them back on? I assume we're going to find out something when we next hear from these people.
Nakamura put up that post saying that AJ told him in advance the Royal Rumble was his last night, and that is what happened. Of course, AJ Styles this past week was in the news because he trademarked the name AJ Styles and Phenomenal One, the logo that he had on the gloves. So he's making sure he's ready for a post-WWE career if necessary. How much would Tony Khan give AJ Styles?
Well, that's the thing, is that I can't say he wouldn't do it for $10 million or whatever. I think if AJ, who was still being used as a main event level guy, and I don't know why he would want to leave and we haven't heard about his contract coming up. That's another thing. Nobody said his contract, or did I miss this? That his contract was going to be up anytime soon, just that he was thinking about retiring? Is he trademarking that himself so that he can own himself after his career? But I don't see any reason why he would leave and go there at this time with the relationship he has with the WWE. I think he's serious about not being in the ring, maybe except if he wants to once in a while for a behind the scenes purpose, or, does he want to start a school, or does he want to work behind the scenes in their program? I don't think he's leaving the company. Because
yeah, and by the way, that's the only other option. It's he stays with the company or he goes to AEW. For those of you writing in saying, what about TNA? He's not going to TNA.
No. And he wouldn't have to quit the WWE to go to TNA anyway. But I don't know why at this point, unless he just said, you know what, this guy will give me $10 million for a year or 2 years or whatever. And how can I not? I really don't see why he would leave in the position he's in and the good graces he's in and go wrestle for AEW.
$10 million, 25 matches at most a year. I don't know. It's appealing. Again, I don't know if it's $10 million. We're just throwing that number. That's pretty excessive.
Well, that's why I'm saying at some point, I guess anybody would almost do anything. But, AJ is not in dire need of money. And I don't know what he would think he could accomplish over there at this point that nobody else can. But nevertheless, it was odd with the gloves.
And again, Gunther now choked out Goldberg, John Cena, who smiled, of course, at the end, and AJ Styles. Where do they go next with Gunther?
Brock. I want to see that fucking match. And I want Gunther to beat Brock. That is the victory that he needs. That I've been saying that's the natural one, the most believable physical guy in the ring of the previous generation against the most believable physical guy in the ring of this generation. And if Brock is motivated to do it the right way and put Gunther over rather than just losing a match to him.
Well, we shall see. But Jim, there was another big match before the next Royal Rumble here on this event.
There was another big match before the next big match for one of the world titles. And I'm sorry, it's just another thing that, a Royal Rumble winner gets to world championship match at WrestleMania in the main event. But now we know the Elimination Chamber winner gets a WrestleMania main event against another world champion. They've diluted this thing down by half. So the world title match was Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre, and that's why they put Sami over in Montreal. We talked about this, the second part of the doubleheader. They love him in Montreal because he's local, and they love him in Saudi Arabia because now they love him there where they didn't love him before. It's a thin line between love and hate, Brian. And again, at least we have a clear babyface, a clear heel, a reason to get behind the fucking underdog, a one-on-one match with regular rules. It doesn't need furniture. And, that was the most refreshing thing is do you think, is Saudi Arabia the last place in the goddamn world that hasn't been polluted? Well, no, they've done it there before with the garbage matches. But the furniture, we didn't need the furniture. That was refreshing. Sami Zayn is the best all-around babyface seller in the WWE. And that's the part that I liked the best about him when he was El Generico. is that he could sell so well as a babyface. And that was when he was 15 years younger. So he actually was a little bit better at it there just because he was a little fresher of a pup. But also he's a little bit smarter now. But he opens up with his flashy babyface shit and does a dive. And then the heel takes over on him, gets heat on him, and he fights from underneath. And Drew fit his part perfectly here because he's an excellent heel. And not only does his athletic shit, his moves, his work, for the most part, look good, but also his body language and his facial expressions. He's on. He's himself all the time. So again, Sammy's got to fight from underneath. And I liked most of this match. But then I thought in trying to make Sammy before they beat him, I don't know, they lost me, and they may have lost to people already, because now that we know that it was after midnight by this point, because the one thing that I noticed was for Sammy to be so popular over there, when Drew hit the white noise, Sheamus's move off the second turnbuckle or whatever, and got a 2 count, and Sammy kicked out, I was like, well, we're starting to go a little too far here in the heat, and there wasn't a big pop either. And then Drew hit it 3 of his DDTs in a row, cover, and got a 2 count. And I wrote no too much, and the fans weren't going ballistic. Now, was it a problem with the miking, or is it my hearing, my ears still clogged, or were the people kind of like not hanging on the edge of their seat when Sammy was kicking out of these things?
Again, this is one of those times where I started asking myself, how many people are there? You know, seriously, because you can't tell, and at times the crowd seemed loud, and at times they didn't. I don't know. I agree with you. I agree with you that they may have gone a little too far, but I don't know about it killing whatever the house was.
Well, I'm not saying it killed it, but my problem is that Drew, in trying to, I guess they thought beforehand that if we do all these things to Sammy and he keeps kicking out, that the people are going to be jumping up and down throwing babies in the air. And this is the kind of finish where it would have worked if the people were throwing the babies. But because they weren't throwing the babies, I was like, oh, come on now. Let me give it again to you. White noise off the turnbuckle. Boom, big bump, 2 count. 3 of his DDTs in a row, 2 count. Drew hit 2 big clotheslines, then missed a kick, then Sammy tried a kick and missed it, and then Drew hit the kick. 2 count, Sammy got the ropes. Then Drew argued with the referee for no apparent reason for a second, and then Sammy hit the kick. And Drew barely turned his shoulder, and it wasn't, you couldn't see it in that big building. And then Drew crawled over to the desk out on the floor, and Sammy followed him, and Drew powerbombed Sammy on the fucking desk. And the referees were checking on Sammy. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, just shoot him then. Or just take a fucking axe and give poor Sammy 40 whacks. And then Drew rolled him back in and started beating on him and taunting him. And Sammy came back after all that with a suplex in the corner, the exploder, and went for the kick. And Drew hit his kick, didn't cover him, hit another kick, 1, 2, 3. Like, God damn, here's a sledgehammer. Again, I think it was just too much for Drew, who is in this title picture, obviously, deeply, along with Cody and Jacob and all the challengers they've got. And Sammy, yes, is popular and needed to have a great showing, but they got into AEW territory with this, and it's fucking, and look at Sammy is 75 pounds smaller and lower on the pecking order than Drew, and Drew need to fucking cannon. So besides for the last 3 or 4 minutes. I wasn't offended by this match, but I think it could have been better if they'd have shortened that down to just euthanize him once and pin him. But now you tell me.
I thought it was all right. I was glad Drew won. I thought that was the right move. I thought they would do something to get a big pop, and they didn't. Do you think Sammy will ever get the world title? You know, you had 2 moments now where you could say it was set up for it to happen if it ever was going to. The match with Roman Reigns in Montreal, which we didn't think they should have and they shouldn't have. Others were arguing that was the time. And now this one, main event in Saudi Arabia, a crowd that loves them. They're not going to do it now either. And again, it doesn't seem like it's the time, but do you think there ever will be a time?
It was after midnight. They didn't love him. That's another thing. If they were jumping up and down like the old days of Steve Austin, then that finish may have been justified. But they thought, apparently, when they laid it out, that was going to happen. But it's after midnight, but it didn't happen. But I said at the time that would have been crazy to beat Roman Reigns with Sammy in Montreal, even though, yes, the pop would have been massive for one night, but it would have eviscerated all the carefully constructed plans they had for, I don't know, like other towns, not Montreal. Any other towns, not Montreal. And they couldn't do that. And it would hurt Sammy more if they put the world title on him and took it off him 2 weeks later than if he never gets it. Because then his fans can always wish, oh, one day, or I wish he had of, or whatever. But yeah, he did, and he lost it 2 weeks later. And that's what would have to happen, because no, he wouldn't be. Definitely when there was only one, you wouldn't make Sammy the world champion. And even now that there's two, he couldn't be the world champion for months and months and months. He's a great bridesmaid.
Well, there it is. Once again, the bridesmaid, Sami Zayn. Drew McIntyre retains the title. We'll see what happens on his road to WrestleMania. But Jim, you brought it up earlier. Whether in his current iteration or as the masked El Generico, Sammy always knew how to sell. Maybe his single greatest skill in the wrestling ring. Not everyone knows how to sell. A lot of people need some help. A helping hand from a professional. A professional in an office building.
A leg up.
You need a leg up, and you need to sit down and relax, knowing that there's something there to give you some peace of mind. A partner who can get your products out to the world, can handle the commerce, can help you with getting the word out. Our good friends at Shopify.
I was going to help you with getting the word out there for a second. Folks, if you want a leg up, let me tell you what, Shopify, they're big boys. They control and they command 10% of all the e-commerce in the United States, which at last account was $74 trillion and $14. And they are the platform behind millions of businesses around the world. So if you talk about needing a leg up, when Shopify gets a hold of you, they're gonna jack one leg up, then they're gonna jack the other leg up, and both your legs are gonna be way up in the air. And then they're gonna send the knowledge that they have straight down the middle, folks.
Okay, I don't know what you're trying to say, but folks, what we're trying to say here is
watch out for that kid.
A partner you could trust, a partner we trust them with our online business.
Hey, you got to trust your partner when both your legs are up in the air, folks. And I'll tell you what, Shopify is a partner that you can trust. They're going to get behind you, or they'll be on top of things. Every once in a while, they'll put you on top, but that's only financially. But you're going to be in a variety of positions, and Shopify will show you how to get maximum impact and depth from each one of them. Whether it's getting started with your own design studio, whether it's accelerating your efficiency by uploading new products or trying to improve existing ones, they've got all the helpful AI tools. They can strap those tools right on and give you the experience you deserve. They can write product descriptions and page headlines, take candid photography. And folks, with marketing, they can get the word out like there'll be somebody screaming at the top of their lungs about your products every day of the week. out in the town square, you'll just hear screaming and yelling. That means that Shopify is servicing another customer. And best yet, they've got world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns. And they also know about the public nudity laws in all 50 states. And what if you get stuck, ladies and gentlemen? Well, Shopify is always around to share advice with their award-winning 24/7 customer support. You call them up if you're a customer 24/7, you need help. Ask them whatever. Say, God damn it, I've just shot my wife and I don't know what to do with the body.
Don't say that. No. Why? First of all, don't do that. Second of all, don't say that even if you don't do that. Bad example.
Well, if you don't do it, you don't say it.
That's what we want to talk about here.
You'll never find out what happens. But tackle all those important tasks in one place, folks, except for shooting the wife. From
don't shoot again.
Payments,
let's not use this example.
All the important tasks besides that. That's
let's talk about selling, not shooting. We're talking about selling two different things. Some can sell, some can shoot.
Just leave her locked up in the basement. She won't be able to interfere. There's no need to go to multiple websites or try to figure out what platform is hosting the tool that you need, because all the tools are in one place at Shopify. And right now, you can start your business today with the industry's best business partner, Shopify, and start hearing that sale sound. There it is. That means you're making money. Sign up for your $1 a month trial period today at shopify.com/JCE. That's shopify.com/JCE for a $1 a month trial period, so you can find out what it's all about for only $1. And then they will propel you into the upper stratosphere of money-making big businesses. You'll be a corporate typhoon. Shopify.
We trust them. You can too. Shopify.com/JCE for a great deal.
Yep, you call that customer support. You can tell them anything. They won't stooge on you. Confess your darkest
we're at
secrets.
the end. We're, once again, Jim, that promo code, which kind of takes the end.
JCE. That's the end of that.
All right, Jim.
See, now you're using both hands.
That was one hand. And there's no transition from there, Jim.
It was all 5 fingers. So at least if you only give me one hand when you do the job, use all 5 fingers.
Jim, while we still have all of our body parts, let's try to get out of Saudi Arabia. Let's return the Royal Rumble. One match left, the big Royal Rumble, the men's Royal Rumble.
And Bonesaw McGraw did not join the Rumble. By the way, when the men's Royal Rumble started, which is kind of the thing that the show is named after, we were 2 hours and 45 minutes into this broadcast. And the 4th match was up.
Well, one match was an hour.
You're telling me. All right. So, and by the way, okay, so the first match was an hour and 15 minutes. And then 25 minutes for Gunther and AJ. So an hour and 45. And then 20 minutes maybe. So they've still dicked around for almost an hour in between this thing. Anyway, the men's Royal Rumble, and there was a pattern that you'll begin to notice when they've not only... Remember, I was telling you the story about, we were talking about the Royal Rumbles that I was involved in as a manager, except for the thing with Vader where there was a big schmoz. But like one year, I just pointed to the ring for Jimmy Del Rey and Tom Pritchard to just run as fast as you can. Now with the entrances, and they're in a stadium, and they're doing some of the guys, the full entrance, Jay yeeted, for Christ's sake. That by the time that they play the music, do the entrance, and get in the ring, they literally do 2 spots, and boom, there's the next guy. But meanwhile, while that they're shooting the entrance, and everybody's attention's on the entrance, all the guys in the ring most of the time are just fucking laying there selling. So you've got a match that goes an hour that every 2 minutes it stops for about a minute to a minute and a half. And then it starts again and goes for another 30 seconds. Am I over exaggerating this?
Again, it's the Royal Rumble. It's a fun match. It's a fun night. It's the one match where you don't know what's going to happen or who's going to come out or who will be
or how long it's going to take.
It was 2 minutes in the past. It's 90 seconds here. It was 90 seconds in the past as well.
Well, and here's another thing. Was it 2 minutes? Because the men's Rumble went an hour. The women's went an hour and 15 minutes. Did they start cutting time when they realized, oh, fuck, it's 2:00 in the morning? What?
Who's timing this show?
I do. That's. But the point is, again, the Royal Rumble traditionally was you run down there and jump in, and there's the chaos that I mentioned in the girls, match rundown that we did, that Pat Patterson would have spots for guys to shine that you wanted to protect and different ways for guys that were top guys to be eliminated with all the focus on them, but that they had an out or an excuse. They were ganged up on, whatever. And in this one, and I'll give it away, but we'll get to it. The biggest elimination, Brock Lesnar was barely caught on camera while some other fucking knucklehead was making his goddamn entrance. And it was Jey Uso.
It was the biggest entrance anyone got, yeah.
The biggest entrance anybody got. And at that point, while he was yeeting through the whole stadium, Cody and LA Knight teamed up to eliminate Brock. Because it had taken so long to do the previous shit, they just... when Phoenix came in, Brock caught him and slammed him and Germaned Oba and dumped Phoenix, and then Oba had to clothesline Brock and hit Logan Paul and try to dump Paul, and Brock dumped him. Well, here comes Jey Uso, but it's time for Brock to leave, but they just did it anyway. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So number one was Oba Femi. And there are still people that think, oh, Cornette fucking shits on Oba Femi because he had a Nigerian accent. Remember, we saw him the one time, and I said, why is he putting on the fake accent? And come to find out, he's really from Nigeria, but he exaggerates the accent. And ever since then, everybody's like, oh, Cornette hates him. He looks great. I don't know that I've seen him yet in a particular position where I thought he was ready to be the fucking world champion here in modern times. He had that little match with Cody, right? Not bad. But nevertheless, he's first and Braun Breaker is second, because that's the thing that Paul Heyman's pissed at Adam Pearce because Braun Breaker got the number 2 spot, and Pearce is saying it's a blind draw. But I remember them giving out specific spots in the past. They just make this shit up. So anyway, Braun Breaker is coming down the entranceway, and the guy in black, the black hoodie, the black outfit, he's not a ninja, but it's all black, jumps Braun Breaker, runs him into the stairs, beats him up, stomps him, rolls him in, and then Oba Femi clotheslined him out. And the guy in black ran off, and Paul had a fit screaming, that was Seth Rollins! That was Seth Rollins! And Braun just staggered out. No, it wasn't time for him to win it. Maybe they thought that would be received better than it. Should they have let the thing get started before they did that? Just so it wouldn't be just like people be like, oh, fuck. Quite a letdown. What do you think?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I guess you have to look at it like they do. It plays into the bigger picture, which will be Braun was screwed over, Drew McIntyre style, and he's going to be on the rampage. Maybe against Adam Pearce, maybe against Rollins, and if it's not Rollins, who's the new Austin Theory?
Well, I think it was Austin. I think it was Austin Theory. Because whoever that person was doesn't have to be the person that's revealed because he didn't reveal himself. And if they want it to be Seth, then, I mean, I did the same thing one time. I couldn't get the Heavenly Bodies in town, so Well Done under ski masks attacked the Storm and Jericho in the parking lot. And we just said it was the Heavenly Bodies. But this was a little flat, but I think it was Theory because he moved the same way, he did the fucking stomp. And they just said, here, you go out there and we'll reveal later on. I'm not saying it's going to be Theory in the end, although who knows, it may be. Because I don't know if they know what they're doing. Anyhow, so that was that. And then here came Solo. And you got a little Solo and Oba, and then Rey Mysterio, and then Rusev. And Rusev got dumped in 30 seconds. What did he do here now? Where they just said, well, fuck it then. He just got back.
I'll take a one-way trip to Bulgaria, please. It is surprising. You thought they would book him stronger than he was booked. I mean, he's just not been booked at all well since he came back. I don't know if it's an issue we just don't see. But when he was, for a little while, booked well in AEW, he was really effective and really good. And he's just a non-entity right now in WWE. A non-entity.
But anyway, so Oba, that's where Oba broke out. And he dumped Rusev 30 seconds after he came in. And then he dumped Solo and he dumped Ray and got booed for that. Because, again, if I was a new babyface in the Royal Rumble, the last thing I'd want to do is dump any of the legendary baby faces, whether they think it'll get me over or not. And then out came Matt Cardona, Fred DeCordova, DeCabada. And he had an exchange with Oba and got dumped again. So now Oba was alone again. So they're doing the thing where the big guy, commands the ring. So they have plans for Oba. And at Damian Priest, at least he ran down. But Damian Priest and Oba Femi, they're trying to do some kind of lackluster, choreographed, aggressive parkour routine with the block and the kick and the duck and the... I don't know if that got it. Because they're both... Priest doesn't have the oomph that he needs, and Oba don't need to be doing fancy Dan stuff. But then Javon Evans came in, and he ducked and dodged and bounced around because, as we've mentioned many times, that boy bouncy. And he does the cute stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, again, this is a kind of showcase where this kid can last a little while by doing all this fancy stuff, and he's the underdog, and he works hard. People want to like him. But then the next guy was Mr. Iguana with the puppet in his mouth. And now instead of Javon Evans, who is athletic and at least it's a real person wrestling or whatever, now the Iguana guy makes everybody look stupid, having to, even though like Priest double choke slammed Iguana and the puppet. Even if they're not cooperating by getting beat up by this guy, the fact that they're cooperating with the spots with him makes everybody look stupid. The fans were conflicted, because do you think AAA is a big deal in Saudi Arabia? Do you think, have they ever seen Mr. Iguana? Do you think over there?
Well, the internet is everywhere. Well, I shouldn't say everywhere. Your king has to let you have it.
Well, do you think he's uppermost in the minds of all the fans in Saudi Arabia, whether they got the internet or not?
I think whether it's Mr. Iguana, who I'm embarrassed by what I see him. I don't give a fuck how much people like him in Lucha Libre. Or Powerhouse Hobbs. I don't think the fans here know anyone outside of WWE. By and large. The majority of when I say fans, the people that the royal family invited to this event.
However they got there, it didn't seem like a lot of the people knew what the fuck this was or what was going on, did it?
No.
So, then Trick Williams, who dumped Iguana and became my new hero. That was number 10. And then number 11, Cody. And the crowd woke up because here's a star. But he did the full entrance with the pyro while everybody else was laying there. And by the time that he threw his weight belt out to the people and threw a couple punches with Oba, it was time for number 12. That's what I'm saying. If you're the TV broadcast, at least you're looking at the guy coming down the ramp and the announcers are talking about him and the music's playing or whatever. But for the people in the arena with the view of everything, it's a match that goes for 30 seconds and then stops for the next guy to come out. Who was El Grande Americano, who was followed at number 13 by the original El Grande Americano, who's Chad Gable. So you got Gable and Kaiser, and they're both ripped, and they look great, and I just hate that. And we've got heat people on Twitter, because you said that was the stupidest gimmick, but what the fuck? It's just, they can do whatever they want in Mexico if they're over in Mexico, but it's just clown show bullshit. And again, Saudi Arabia did not seem to understand that they're the hottest thing in Mexico, did they?
Again, they're broadcasting to the world. They want to make sure that the stars of the WWE system are seen by the entire world.
Thank you, Bruce Pritchard. So then the Americanos fought with each other in original dump number 2. So that's kind of like Coke Classic beating New Coke. And then Trick dumped the original one, and then Cody dumped Trick. Cody dumped Trick, not Cody dumped Tricked. Or dump trucked. Did he dump truck it over? Speaking of dump trucks, Powerhouse Hobbs, they put up on the entrance video, Powerhouse Hobbs. And then the announcer said, well, here's the guy formerly known as Powerhouse Hobbs. And it morphed into Royce Keys, or Hoist Keys for those of you in Brazil. No pop, because they don't know who Powerhouse Hobbs was. But at the same time, why were the announcers saying, have they ever done this? When a guy's changed his name? Well, he used to be so-and-so, but now he's a completely different name that sounds nothing like the former name. And didn't explain why that he's changed as he's trying to stay ahead of the law. But nobody knew who Powerhouse Hobbs was in Saudi Arabia in the building. And they've gotten guys who were much bigger stars under other names and didn't mention their previous name. But I guess what I'm saying, Brian, is what the fuck? Why this was very odd for them to do this.
The way they did it was really odd, and we heard from a lot of listeners because the story came out. The name Royce is a tribute to his son named Royce, and the name Keys is a tribute to the maiden name of his mom, and that's very nice.
Yes.
We were just saying Powerhouse Hobbs is a better name. It's a more marketable
Hobbs
name.
is a better name for the guy that's standing there I'm looking at right now. He looks more like Powerhouse Hobbs than he does Royce Keys.
But if you were going to do that, if you were going to bring him out.
If you've taken that name away from him, then why do you mention, oh, this was before he was, but now?
Yeah, why wouldn't you just bring him out as Royce Keys, even if you want to reference anything to past? Not only what they mentioned, they had an image, they had his name, Powerhouse Hobbs, on the screen for 2 seconds. And you're like, oh shit, it's hot. Oh no. And then it breaks and it's Royce Keys. Like the new name overpowered the old name. Why even mention the old name? If you're never going to use it and the fans there don't know him, But it was, the whole thing was a questionable presentation for someone who hopefully will get a really good, fair shake of things in WWE.
Well, he power slammed and dumped Priest, and he spine busted Javon, and he had a face off and a fight with Cody. And then here's Theory comes in. And Theory hit Evans and hit Cody twice and just went over to the corner and started fighting a guy. And then Bronson Reed. And it started, again, the entrances started overpowering the match. Ilya, he made a comeback on everybody for 15 seconds, and then it settled down. They're not letting a lot of these guys, or if they're not producing it down to the nub like they used to, where it's, okay, you just get in and do whatever, then if I was some of these guys, I'd go to another couple of guys and say, hey, let's do a spot. But they just kind of hop in. Anyway, number 18, La Parka. And I wrote, fucking hell, dead silence. It's not even the real La Parka. The real La Parka, when I last saw him, weighed like 300 fucking pounds. This guy weighed like 190. I think it was a fucking Cruz guy that was Abraham Lincoln for MJF in a La Parka suit.
Did you hear what they were saying on commentary? It was really funny, actually, because, like you said, the original La Parka from WCW, from AAA, lost the rights to use that name when he left AAA. Antonio Pena owned the rights. So he became L.A. Park, doing all of his funny mannerisms and everything else, and there's just some new La Parka. So this guy's not the original La Parka, and they said that on commentary, like, when they're giving his history, they're giving the history of the character, not the person. They're like, oh, this is a famous character, his history, and I'm like, what? He has nothing, this guy has nothing to do with the other La Parka at all.
So he got credit for all of the fucking inanimate objects that Endora turned the Dick York Darren into, even though he's Dick Sargent.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So then he beat up Theory and Ilya and danced, and then 19 Dragon Lee, and I wrote, this is just watching guys enter. And then number 20, Logan Paul. So then all of a sudden, with kind of a little, not much fanfare, minuscule amounts, Logan Paul, Reed, and Theory ganged up and dumped Royce Keys. And then Bronson Reed drumped Dragon Lee. And then at 21, L.A. Knight. They might not know who L.A. Parka is, but they, by God, know who L.A. Knight is. The people popped and started chanting, L.A. Knight, L.A. Knight. What is it that are they just being mean to the fucking fans at this point? That everywhere this guy goes, the people chant for him and they fucking say, yeah, and he gets a big pop. And he never does anything.
That's the story of his WWE career, whether he was used well or not. He's always over more than they want him to be, which should be a good problem, but you got to capitalize on it at some point before it runs out.
So the Vision triple teamed him, but he dumped Theory and dumped Reed, and the fans were up, and he got on Logan Paul. And then it was time for number 22, Brock Lesnar, who came out with Paul. And that made me think Paul was headed to the ring with Braun Breaker. Why had Paul already been out there with fucking Bronson Reed or Austin Theory or Logan Paul? But now he comes out with Brock, who suplexes Cody and LA Knight and Evans and F5 Evans and faces off with Obafemi. And as soon as we get that face off, the music plays and it's Miz. And I'm like, what the fuck? The people were up, they want to see Brock and Oba. Miz slides in, realizes what he's going to get into, slides back out because he's scared, but everybody else then jumped Brock and Oba. So Brock dumped Ilya, and Brock tried to, or he did German Cody, but Cody sandbagged him halfway, trying not to land on Logan Paul. It was starting to get a little tight. And then they go back to Brock and Oba, a face-off again, but now more music. I'm like, motherfucker. And it's Phoenix. So he dives off the top rope, which why wouldn't you? And Brock catches him and slams him and Germaned Oba and dumped Phoenix. And then Oba clotheslined Brock and nailed Logan Paul and went to dump Logan Paul and Brock dumped him. It's like, why did you turn your back on this guy that you've been facing off with for the past 10 minutes after one clothesline? And so it was just kind of a flat way to get rid of Oba. But then speaking of flats, that's when Jey Uso's music played. And then Brock was still doing shit. He Germaned Logan Paul, but now we're looking at Jey yeeting through the whole stadium. And that was the spot where Cody and LA Knight eliminated Brock, which was lost because of the entrance. And then I swear to God, when Jey got to ringside, one of the referees came over with his hand on his IFB gimmick and fucking cut his eyes to the ring like, get in a ring. And he did. And the music stopped, and then he stood there and had him run it back and start it up again. And by the time his music stopped, the music for the next guy started, which was Roman Reigns, who has to walk to the ring purposefully with pyro. And then they face off, Roman and Jey, while everybody else is just laying around. And Roman tells Jey to start his music back up again. Jey gets a big smile and he starts it, and Roman draws back and knocks the shit out of him. And then Roman leveled everybody and dumped The Miz and had a face-off with Cody, and we're ready for more music. Have I droned on enough, or do you want to get in here? Or do you get we're going to walk out, we're going to do 2 fucking moves, and more music's going to play.
You know, the other day, in advance of the Rumble, I ended up watching the January, well, they're all January. I ended up watching the 1989 Rumble, which you don't hear people really talk about too much as being like an all-time classic. I just wanted to, like you said, I hate to say it, I wanted to enjoy entrances. And back then, the entrances were the guys ran to the ring. Some of the big guys walked. But it was so exciting, and you got action. 1 and 2, Demolition Axe and Smash. And they go in there and just start kicking the shit out of each other. And then how do you stop this? Because, I mean, it's pretty interesting booking. Babyface tag team beating each other up. Number 3, Andre the Giant. And it went from there, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But there was time in between the guy getting in the ring and the next guy coming out to get some stuff done.
Yeah.
And you don't get that as much now. Because they have entranceways that need cars, to be quite honest with you, to get you to the ring quick.
If it was in the same area code, it would be as the ring, the locker room, it would be better. But so anyway, we get the face off with Roman and Cody, and the music plays, and it's Jacob. And Jacob, as he's coming down, Cody goes to dive out at him, and Jacob stopped him and beat him up on the floor, and he super kicked LA Knight. Big Samoan drop on Javon Evans. And then he has the face-off with Roman. But Cody knocks Jacob out of the way and has a face-off with Roman. And then Roman Reigns and Jey Uso double-team Cody. And wait a minute, what the fuck? Roman Reigns just punched Jey in the fucking face 10 minutes ago. Why are
They're family.
Then number 28 was Penta, and I wrote, who gives a shit at this point? LA Knight hit stuff on everybody, but then Cody knocked him off the apron, and he was eliminated, and Cody got booed for eliminating LA Knight. Number 29 was Orton. He did 2 power slams. The fans sang his song. He did a double DT. He had the DTs. He had a double DDT on Jey and Penta and 2 RKOs on Logan Paul and Penta. And then here's music. So little. I mean, it was 20 seconds. And the last guy was Gunther at number 30. And again, he's great because he was limping just slightly on the way. He's already had a hard match. On the way to the ring, he was beat up, but he wasn't cartoony beat up, and he was selling his leg. So at that point, you've got most of the top guys left. Orton RKO'd and dumped Evans out, and Gunther dumped Penta. And then they did the spot where Orton and Cody decided they were going to team up on Gunther, but Gunther moved and Cody cuttered Orton. Which, when that eventually happens, is going to be the battle of the RKO and the Cody cutter. But this may be, if it's not the start, it's one of the, what do the kids call them, breadcrumbs. It's one of the things that when they do the turn, they're going to go back and refer to this and or play it. But when Cody had cuttered Orton, then Jacob threw Cody over the top, but Cody hung on. But Drew came out and boom, and knocked him off and eliminated Cody. So again, there's multiple run-ins in the Royal Rumble now. Did there used to be run-ins in the Royal Rumble, or was everybody officially running in?
Every now and then, but Drew McIntyre is on a revenge tour.
Well, and as well as the guy in black. And then Roman Reigns from behind dumped Fatu, his own, the member of the family. And then Roman Reigns dumped Jay, so it was Logan Paul, Roman, Orton, and Gunther.
Hey, can I just say Logan Paul was pretty excellent in there?
Yes, because, and here's the thing. I know a lot of people will say, well, he's green. Even though he lays out his matches, you can't really practice something like this. But there's not periods of time where he has to go through long, intricate spots in this thing. We know he remembers his shit well, and he's very athletic, and he's been a star performer at, the high-level matches. But in this one, as long as he doesn't get lost, it's, it's not like all the burden is on him to go 20 minutes with one other guy. But nevertheless, you got okay, and we just talked about it on the previous show. Roman Reigns, but hey, y'all got to get your creative shit together, because I don't know that I would have particularly predicted this or wanted it, but Roman dumped Logan Paul and Gunther dumped Orton, and then Gunther got a sleeper on Roman. Roman fought it and ran Gunther into the turnbuckle and speared him and dumped him. It just seemed like, that kind of happened, but now Roman Reigns is the winner. What champion do we want to see Roman Reigns fight, Brian, at WrestleMania? Or let me give you this idea. Do we want to see him call out the people's champion?
I think that would be, I'm thinking about Roman versus Punk, which could be good, especially if Heyman's involved with the layout. However, if The Rock is really going to be able to do anything, they got to do it with Roman. I mean, Cody, he owes Cody a pinfall if he's going to do stuff.
I don't.
But they've been teasing the thing with him and Roman for years. There has to be a payoff.
What I'm saying is that I don't particularly want to see Roman right now against any of the world champions they have in the WWE. And I know we said he's lacking something, maybe right now, maybe they put him over in this because he is, as a baby face, lacking direction, lacking oomph, lacking whatever. But I don't know whether I would rather see Roman Reigns come out and say, if I get my pick of champion, I'm calling one out, the people's champion, because this son of a bitch was my tag team partner and got in all this, and then where the fuck he went to Hollywood, just manufacture some goddamn. I want to show who the head of the table really always has been. And I want one more chance. So I want the people's champion. And let Rock come in and put him fucking over. But otherwise, I don't know.
But, I think that the issue is...
And they're also, and one more thing, and then I'll let you just run away with it. They're getting in the same fucking predicament that Tony's in, where a lot of their baby faces are bitching and whining at each other instead of having strong heels to fucking bitch and whine at. Go ahead.
I don't think there's too much you could have done with Roman other than have him win. If he doesn't win, he has nothing at all. At least with the win, he has something now for the next few months into WrestleMania. And it's a main event thing. Other than that, again, he's been popping in and popping out. He hasn't been around for like weeks. I mean, it's going back to when he was champion, but now that he's not champion, him not being there, he becomes a forgotten thing until he shows up again. So at least this will put him in the mix until WrestleMania.
Well, I guess you're right. But still, overall, I like certain people in this thing. I wish I could have seen more of them, but everybody has to walk to the ring for a minute and a half while everybody else lays around. And this, as I said, was an hour long, which was 15 minutes shorter than the fucking girls.
Hey, imagine an alternate universe where Gunther wins and he calls out the people's champion. I've retired these other guys as one more on my Mount Rushmore. The people's champion.
We can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way. And then all the boys would say, here, Gunther, here's an extra fucking payoff for you that night. Get even for him coming in and fucking up all of our booking. But that was the Royal Rumble.
That was the men's Royal Rumble. We'll talk a little bit about the post-show in a moment. But, of course, winning the Royal Rumble is a big deal. Flying back from Saudi Arabia is a big deal. You want to hope to get some sleep? Maybe listen to some tunes. And Jim, we have a friend who can help the listener or the wrestler listen to some tunes wherever they are, our friends at Raycon.
Oh, Brian, I thought you were talking about our friend Bill. Bill, that can help you hear music and see colors. He hangs out in an alley at 4th and Chestnut. But you're talking about our friends over at Raycon. And that gave me time to think about how glorious the Raycon wireless earbuds are, but I'll tell you what now they've got. They got the incredible essential open earbuds that are even so much better because they not only let you hear the music or the program or the topic that you're listening to, Brian, but also the world around you. You can hear somebody screaming your name, "Leg out!" You can hear your wife saying, "I'm going to spend all your money if you don't stop me."
Why are these?
You can hear a car honking as it's ready to bear down upon you. So see, you don't have to just be run over, broken financially, or otherwise crushed physically by all these sounds around you while you're listening to your tunes. You can hear both. These Raycons sit right outside the ear canal. That means that it's close enough that your paddle can reach the boat, but at the same time, the canal gives you a really clear sound, but you can hear what's happening around you. They're lightweight. The ear hook rotates. Now, there's been a lot of cases of people rotating the hook around the other way and sticking it inside the ear hole.
There have not been a lot of cases. Oh, whoa. There's not been a lot of cases of this. Let's just make sure we clarify.
Well, no, if you stick the ear hook, if you stick the ear hook in the ear hole, then the earbud is pointed outwards, and that way other people can hear your programming.
Ladies and gentlemen,
so you got to watch out what you're listening. If you're listening to any state secrets,
oh yeah,
it'll just be broadcast out in the public.
In case you are unaware, and I would hope you'd be aware, do not stick anything like that into your ear canal. But that's one of the great things about these Raycon. I have them right here. I have both my everyday earbuds, but the essential open earbuds. One of the great things is you don't have to worry about that. It's pretty easy to understand exactly how to use these earbuds that are fantastic with a great sound. Raycon.
It depends on whether your ears are facing forwards or backwards. Now, the forwards, it's easier, but the backwards, that's why they make the hook rotate. So if your ears face backwards and your lobes are on the back and your back parts in the front, your holes up your ass, well, you'll know where to find it.
Once again, let's...
Folks, the open-ear design, the multi-angular hook, lightweight, flexible construction there, the multi-point connectivity that connects to multiple devices and switch seamlessly between one to the other. So you can be AC one moment and DC the next moment, and you don't know what you're getting from both ends. And 36 hours of battery life with 8 hours of playtime with the charging case. You might charge them maybe once a week, and then you're ready to go, unless you're just up on some kind of methamphetamine bender. And folks, again, we can save you some money.
Yes.
So you can buy more meth. You can get
no. So you could do legal things, not that. Why would that be? Again, we're here to save people money with Raycon.
Well, you can get 15% more meth because right now...
No meth. Meth meaning method, the method of listening to music in your ears, that kind of meth.
No moss on the meth. But the essential open earbuds are here to help you go for the gold, if not the meth or the moss. Because if you go to buyraycon.com right now, that's BUYRAYCON.com/JCE Open. That's the code JCE Open. You're going to get 15% off these essential open earbuds so you can listen to everything you want to listen to, hear everything you need to, and you'll have 15% of what you would have spent on these to spend on other things like booze, drugs, or hookers.
Books,
it's up to you.
Periodicals and food for your family, ladies and gentlemen.
Charitable contributions and food for your family.
Once again, great sounds. Raycon, a great sound, a great
So right
earbud.
there, you're gonna get 15% off Little Johnny's apple pie and 15% off your next 8-ball.
Jim,
right
you
now,
hear that? We're going to get away from the pool table, and we're going to get back.
Raycon.
We're going to get back away from
get
clearly
back to where you
table.
once belong. JoJo was a man who wanted some earbuds, but he had backward ears. JoJo went to buyraycon.com, and he got those earbuds for years. Get back to buyraycon.com/JCE Open. 15% off. Billy Preston spinning around in his grave.
Hey, what is that supposed to mean? The hell's that supposed to mean?
Because he heard what we were doing.
You know, we're friends. You're supposed to be nice. But once again, buyraycon.com/JCE. You can listen to whatever fine music you enjoy. We love them. I got mine here. My kids haven't stolen them yet. Get yours today. Buyraycon.com.
And stay away from Brian's thieving children.
/JCE. Jim, before we wrap up everything with the Royal Rumble, I can't imagine you would have watched it because it doesn't seem like you were really too interested in watching anything past what you absolutely had to.
No, I got out. I got out at the end. I heard there was a big display afterwards, but I got out at the end of the Royal Rumble match.
You know, I grew up in New York seeing the 4th of July Thanksgiving, the 4th of July fireworks spectacular each and every year. They air it on TV. It looks great. You have Thunder over Louisville most years.
Thunder over Louisville, the biggest ongoing annual yearly fireworks exhibition in the United States. Thunder over Louisville.
Well, what if you combine those two things and you lit up the Saudi Arabian night sky for about 10 minutes straight? No exaggeration. After the final match, they had a fireworks show. It wasn't like there was a field with like the Gucci family running the fireworks or whatever. They were shooting them off the tops of the buildings. Like it was all over the entire city. And then they had drones up with the WWE logo or the belt. And you could barely see the drones because there's massive fireworks going off everywhere.
Are putting off too much light to be able to reflect the drone, yeah.
What we know is, because the commentator said it, it's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. in Saudi Arabia. And there's a 10-minute fireworks show, not from one centralized location. It's getting shot off the rooftops of every building in town.
Well, besides that, they said that they had the soccer the stadiums were filled in the city of Riyadh. They had 4 stadiums. They all had soccer games, but they obviously weren't still going till 2 o'clock in the morning. And you would think that most other activities, is Riyadh like New York, the city that never sleeps? A lot of people. How many people are in Riyadh? Can you Google that real quick? What's the population of Riyadh?
Let me look it up.
That suddenly at 2 o'clock in the morning, people all over this city are hearing these explosions. That can't be a comforting thing in that part of the world or any part of the world, to be woken up in a major city with explosions in the air at 2 in the morning. And what the fuck is going on?
And by the way, is that just for wrestling? Yeah, is that just for wrestling, or is that for all these big events they're doing for the nonstop Riyadh season?
Well, but they didn't all end at the same time as the Royal Rumble did. It would have been physically impossible for them to.
That's what I'm saying. Did WWE get it for this night, but like every other night when there's like an event, like, all right, the comedy spectacular is over. Let's light up the sky.
Fireworks.
What? I got an answer to your question. The population of Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, is approximately 7 to 8.6 million
Jesus
as of 2024.
Christ.
Representing massive growth from roughly 500,000 in 1972.
That massive growth is an understatement. 500,000 50 years ago to almost 8 million today is what they're saying.
That's right.
Boy, they
built a city in the middle of nowhere.
Well, besides that, they must be injecting rabbit genes in these fucking people. But okay, so where is New York? What is the population of New York? It's I remember the number 8 or 10 million being thrown around a few years ago.
New York City is 8.4 million.
Riyadh's about to catch New York? Good heavens. And what would happen if suddenly at 2 o'clock in the morning in New York City, even though many people still are awake in New York, if suddenly the world's largest fireworks display just went off?
If it was a one-time thing, it would be nonstop complaints and it would be an issue. If they thought it may happen again, it would unite New Yorkers like nothing else ever before to stop whatever force was doing 10-minute fireworks shows at 2 in the morning off every building. Everything was just shooting off fireworks from every direction. And then there's drones everywhere. To advertise WrestleMania, the waterless WrestleMania next year coming to Saudi Arabia.
8 million people are not going to sleep all night because the WWE's back in town. Whew.
How many people woke up thinking like, we've gone to war. We're at war right now.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, in today's world, I don't know anywhere where at just 2 o'clock in the morning, if this would start going off over any major city in the world, that some people wouldn't go, oh shit, what the fuck? And they look out the window and they see lights and fucking whatever. What the hell's going on?
It was stunning to watch live because you keep thinking, okay, that's the end. All right, that wasn't the end. This is the end. That's not, it was like a modern match. Like it was something that could have been done in a minute. And it went for 10 minutes.
They do that at Thunder over Louisville, too. They have the false finish. And, of course, there's a musical track also. But they're shooting it all off of the bridge and barges in the river that's not over the goddamn city proper. And it's advertised for weeks on end. Everybody in town knows this is going to happen. And it's 9:30 at fucking night, right when it gets dark. I can't imagine the level of, and we don't have no skyscrapers in Louisville to speak of that they shoot things off the top of anyway. So is the level of this had to be jarring to some people.
I'm so thirsty. If I could only have a drink. What's that? Boom, 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 boom.
Some good refreshing soot and ash can fall on me from the skies as I search for water.
But think about that. The fact that Riyadh, the capital, and again, everything there is run by a family. It's a kingdom, the classic old biblical style. It's a kingdom. It's on every rooftop. You know, it would be difficult for New York City to do that because you'd have to get every building owner on your side. You'd have to incentivize them, whatever it may be.
And permits. And again, I know that there was no incidents with the stadium that they built in a month. But between the lack of facilities and or just the codes, the building codes have to be a lot different. Safety codes I'm talking about, to ensure that the public is not, at risk of somehow, well, we just put this thing up for 25,000 people in 30 days and we'll take it down. There's got to be a whole different level of approval you have to go through over there when you know the right people than in any other civilized country.
I wish you would have seen it. It was hysterical because it was so excessive and like there was no end in sight. I was like, maybe they're not doing a post show. Maybe they're just going to do this forever. Maybe it's never going to end. But that was it. That was the Royal Rumble.
Speaking of things that are never going to end.
That was the 2026 Royal Rumble. And with that, Jim, we shall return after this short commercial timeout. All right, Jim, you know what that sound connotates. That means there's been so much action.
No idea.
There's been so much action, but there's still more to come.
What the connotation is of that. Besides, it just appears at random times. Like the Tingler in a William Castle movie.
Well, we'll see how much tingling you do here with the final portion of the show. We still have a good deal of things to talk about. English, not our specialty today. But Jim, before we go any further, there was a big match for AEW Collision this past Saturday.
Yes, there was.
And I didn't realize that it was actually going to be right away, and it was. I wish they would have done it on Dynamite. It seems like that would have been the better decision, but Tommaso Ciampa versus Mark Briscoe, and a lot of people wrote in asking for your thoughts on the match, knowing you've always spoken highly of both of these men.
Well, and like you said, Tommaso Ciampa makes a big debut on Dynamite last week, or the last Dynamite. Hadn't even been a week ago. And faces down with Mark Briscoe, the TNT champion, and one would think, boy, let's have that next week on the flagship program. Here's this brand new talent that we're obviously intending to use in a meaningful way, or as best we can over there, we being AEW. And okay, next week on Dynamite. No, it's Saturday on Collision, which was the Saturday of the Royal Rumble. Even if they weren't opposite each other in exact time, who's going to watch that whole fucking Royal Rumble show and then say, oh, I got to catch Collision, right? It just... And they have the match on Collision the following Saturday, 4 days after this guy has shown up. Now, not to spoil the result, but my God, we're talking about it's been a few days ago now. Ciampa won the belt. But we'll break it down here in a second. But I agree that there's a famous instance. The Rock and Roll Express, their first night into Crockett Promotions, beat Ivan Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev for the NWA World Tag Team title. That's the way you blow a guy over. Boom, here he is. He's a champion. It's been done. But at the same time, one would have thought that they would have waited enough time to actually promote, book the match on Wednesday night, promote the match on Saturday, and have it again the following Wednesday. But Tony has no self-control. So on the lowest rated program they do, 4 days later, 3 days later, whatever, out we come with it. And I think I said this when we talked about Dynamite. Ciampa on this roster, in this environment, he's not going to look like a little guy like he did in the WWE. He's in great shape. He's got a great look. His cardio is fantastic. His work is solid. He seems serious about things. I haven't heard him cut a promo in a while, but as I remember, he can make you believe that he's saying what he's saying. So he is completely different than most of the AEW roster in all of those respects. And so I am hopeful again, but you know what happens when I get hopeful around these folks, that he can be a meaningful addition in the ring, but as we've said, and he can probably show more of his real self than he has in quite some time in the other place. But can the reanimated corpse of Strangler Lewis mean a difference at the gate in AEW?
I mean, a giant star, if they signed him, could, but other than that, no one else I don't think can overnight. It would take time and proper booking.
And then the problem becomes, is there enough people for him to work with to accentuate his strengths and not get into the fucking lunatic fringe of the trampoline cowboys or the people that have to trash the furniture or the death riders or, you know, whatever crazy cliques exist on this roster. With Mark Briscoe, again, people don't get it. When I praise Briscoe, they say, oh, he looks like shit. He looks like an indie guy. He's got no teeth. He looks like every other fucking guy you'd knock or whatever. Mark Briscoe is the living definition of a fucking crazy babyface gimmick. With him, it works. That's why only certain people can pull shit off. Because sometimes with people, it just doesn't work. But Mark Briscoe makes you believe, and to an extent that, again, he's turned up to 10, but that he's real. And when used properly, which of course there is the caveat, and he hasn't been, he can fill your crazy babyface gimmick, and that's why you don't have everybody doing the shit he does, because nobody else can carry it off. Nobody else should really look like that. He ought to be the one breaking the furniture and nobody else. And then you'd have a massive fucking crazy babyface star. And I've never advocated that he was going to be the WWE champion. He's never going to be the guy in a major company, although he could have been. And that window closed, we've all talked about it. The guy in AEW for a period of time. But that's why, again, instead of having 18 fucking crazy baby faces breaking furniture and doing nonsensical interviews and doing wild shit, and then you've just got a mess, just like 18 giants or 18 of these fucking acrobats or 18 luchadors, you let the guy that does it best do it. And then it's unique.
Hey, on that topic, if I could ask you a quick question before you even get to the match. Tommaso Ciampa comes in there, and I'm actually excited to see what he could do in AEW. Fresh matchups. I'm sure it won't be, I'm sure something will disappoint me, but I'm excited to see where they go. But in terms of his look, do too many guys have that look? And I'm not saying you could do anything to change it right now, but you brought up in the past, Gabe Kidd looks like Moxley, and Josh Alexander looks like Moxley, and now you could say Josh Alexander looks like Ciampa. I mean, like, they all kind of have a similar look. Again, that's their look. This is their life. But if you're a promoter, is there an issue with too many guys that kind of look the same?
Well,
if you're going by the channel real quick, for whoever does that,
there's a bunch of bald guys. Apparently, we can't do anything about that these days. But with Ciampa, I think because of the big gray beard and the gray hair doesn't bother me because the way his body looks, right? So he looks like a goddamn grizzled individual. Ciampa's look and just the way he carries himself and etc. stands out enough from those other guys that I don't think it's egregiously over the line. But like you said, the Josh Alexander and Gabe Kidd's the other one, they look like, or Davis and Doyle. So they made them a team. And then now we've lost one already. But a lot of the indie guys do have the similar appearance, but Ciampa just he has more charisma to look at the guy. And then you see the body and the fucking intensity and the whole thing. And I think he stands out. I don't know that anybody's going to confuse him with anybody else. But this match, I liked most of it. I have hope. At the same time, they still have to do some of the things they got to do. But they used some wrestling. When they did trade the forearms and the chops, they were laying the shit in at least. Well, the chops, I've given up on asking anybody to lay in a fucking forearm like Buddy Landell in 1984. And they just can't get it. But then toward the middle part, it turned into a lot of punch, chop, and kick, which I thought, as athletic as those guys are, they could have done a few more wrestling-oriented tactics. But all in all, they beat shit out of each other. And they were serious. And as you know, that's the thing, is serious within Mark's obviously is, but you had a struggle. Now, the problem is, during the match, I'm thinking, okay, Tommaso Ciampa comes out and his first night in the company confronts Mark Briscoe, and he's called the Psycho Killer. And he looks like a goddamn nut. So I guess he's the heel, right? Was that what you were thinking, at least going into this?
That Tommaso's the heel.
Say again?
That Tommaso Ciampa's the heel.
Yes, that Tommaso's, that's what you would think.
Absolutely. He was presented as again, Mark Briscoe's been nothing but a babyface.
Yes.
And he was the one who was confronted by him, yeah.
Yes. So then, when they have the match, the one thing I'm thinking is, well, they're doing their stuff. Mark's doing all his shit. Tommaso's doing some of his stuff. They start getting some 2 counts, the froggy bows in there. But I'm like, Ciampa has done nothing to establish himself as a heel. And then, spoiler alert again, we come to find out after the match, it's because he's not. He's a babyface too. After he beats Mark Briscoe clean in the ring, they shake hands and hug. The Psycho Killer is a babyface. So the thing that I didn't like, they had to get the fight on the floor in, and they had rolled around a little bit on a table there. And then Tommaso chucks Mark Briscoe back in the ring and gets up on the table and stands there with his back to the ring. You know, like, yay, it's me. If he's going to be a fucking heel or a babyface that's hugging the guy that he just beat and shaking his hand afterwards, why did he fucking throw him in the ring and then turn around like, yeah, look how great I am? And he turns around and Mark Briscoe comes off a top rope with the fucking elbow and puts him through a table. They had to break the table. They weren't even anywhere near there beforehand, and they didn't ever go back there. They just had to get a table breaking in.
Well, that's kind of the problem. It was very professional. Like, it was set up perfectly. If you were going to do how to take a table bump in wrestling school course, this is how to do it. Tommaso Ciampa timed it right, turned, jumped in the air when Mark Briscoe jumped to make sure he landed on the table perfectly, and he did. So it looked great in the here's how you do it, kids kind of way. Very professional.
Yeah. And they were milking the 20-minute time limit. They'd gone about 18, and then, you know, they went back and forth, and Mark hit some stuff, and then Tommaso caught him with a German suplex and hit him with that knee lift, which looks a lot better than the goddamn Buckaroo's little pissy little fucking knee lift that doesn't ever hit anybody, and beat him 1, 2, 3. And again, it was an okay match. It was brilliant compared to most of the AEW matches that are either just excessive everything or concentrating on, you know, being on the floor for 10 minutes or whatever. the table spot was unnecessary, but then they shake hands and hug, and so they brought the Psycho Killer in as a babyface, and Mark just got beat clean in the ring, so thank you for coming. And then Kyle Felcher comes out to stare at Tommaso. Tommaso Ciampa looks like he would eat Kyle for breakfast. They should have had Tommaso beat Kyle to build for a match with Briscoe, because these two guys at least look like fucking fighters of some description. Instead of this, he looks now like he's a 14-year-old nerd in study hall. They have just made Kyle look like a complete fucking idiot.
I guess you don't like his wardrobe. I mean, he dresses
well,
very...
no, that's one thing. Yes, that goddamn... They've shaved all his hair off. They've got him with those goddamn goofy glasses on and in a suit that doesn't make him look like Nature Boy Ric Flair. It makes him look like he's dressed up for his high school pictures. And who thinks that he could give either Mark Briscoe or Tommaso Ciampa a fucking fight? Jesus Christ.
Kyle's got
like a goddamn...
Yeah, he's got size.
He looks like a juvenile
guy.
delinquent. I know, and they made him look like a juvenile delinquent instead of a big
juvenile delinquents don't wear pink
athlete.
suits.
Well, they do in certain parts of the country.
I don't know about that, but you know, again, it's an interesting dynamic to have Kyle come out there, who I guess is still technically a heel with the Callis family, although the fans now treat him more like a babyface. And he's dressing very prim and proper. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's an issue with, you know, people think that anyone's going to eat him alive. You know, when he takes off his shirt in the ring, he looks like a big, strong guy, so it'll be okay. What are your thoughts on them doing this on Collision? Should they have had this exact match on Dynamite this week?
Well, yes, that's what I said at the start of the thing. They could have at least promoted it for 7 days instead of just boom. And again, if you want to get a guy over that's debuting as a big baby face, why do you have him come in and be one of your fucking baby faces? One of the only baby faces you got that most everybody likes. Why would he come in and beat some asshole heel? He could get another belt. Everybody's got a belt. Just beat one of them for their belt. Oh, Christ. The last thought that I would have in my mind, if I was bringing in Tommaso Ciampa to be a big baby face, and believe me, I would think about that also, because I don't know why the Psycho Killer, otherwise they're just glad to see him. And Tony knows he doesn't know how to put any heat on anybody. But the last thing I would think of is if I'm going to bring a big baby face in, to have him, his debut beat one of the other of my baby faces.
Well, you know, Psycho Killer, his booking is fucked. Hey, real quick, because I don't think you brought it up.
Run away.
We didn't, I don't think, discuss it during the Dynamite review. Did you see the two backstage promo segments? Kyle doing his promo and Okada came and apologized to him. And then the second segment with Kyle and Takeshita, where Takeshita, in English, you know, all of a sudden everyone speaks and everyone can understand each other, where Takeshita turns to him and says, "You accepted Okada's apology?" You didn't see any of that?
No, I didn't watch any of that. And the reason why is because you just told me what it was, and now they've got the fucking idiots apologizing to each other in the back. I don't care what Okada does. I barely care anymore what Take does, and I'm not really thrilled with what they're doing to poor Kyle.
It's interesting that the Callis family always has like a little corner of it that's like kind of half babyface, half heel, not associated with the Callis family, but will be there now for months at a time. We'll see what happens. That was the TNT title change on TNT, AEW Collision, January 31st. Jim.
Yes.
You know, it's almost like this was a draft pick for Tony Khan. Like he said, I get to pick one of the guys from their side, someone with talent and skill and wrestles good matches, I'm going to take Tommaso Ciampa. That will be my draft pick. And of course, speaking of drafts, there are draft beers that are consumed by a lot of wrestlers at the hotel bar afterwards. And
there's some wind blowing through here right now.
There's some wind blowing from our good friends at DraftKings, Jim.
Boy, that was anguish how you got there. Folks, I'll tell you one thing right now. Super Bowl 60 deserves a sports book built for the moment. And that's why DraftKings Sportsbook, the official betting partner of Super Bowl 60, has gone and done what they did in Saudi Arabia. They built their own sports book just for Super Bowl 60. And they've been working in a parking lot over in Poughkeepsie since about, I guess, the 1st of January. They've done it in about 30 days. They've built this giant sports book just for Super Bowl 60. And anything can happen during the Super Bowl, including apparently this whole thing collapsing. But DraftKings will still have your back, ladies and gentlemen, with early exit. Brian, have you heard about the early exit?
You have mentioned it to me before, but I think it's worth reiterating.
Well, I'll iterate it right here for you. If a player goes down in the first half, you still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. That means if you're betting that one of these big players is going to go down and you're just sitting there hoping, oh, please, break your leg, hurt yourself, do something, go down, you're going to get paid out in cash immediately as long as he goes down. New to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. And turn $5 into $300 in the bonus bets. All you got to do is win one thing. Boom, you're on your way to fame, fortune, and glory. Brian, are you on your way to fame, fortune, and glory?
I maybe I may be a quarter of the way there. I'm not sure.
You're not going to tell me, you refuse to tell me all the big wagers you're going to place on the big game through DraftKings Sportsbook. You're not going to spill that information, or you just don't want to make it public because you got the inside information on a guy with tranquilizer darts on the sidelines. You know who's going down in the first half.
Once again, off-air conversations are supposed to remain off-air conversations. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, folks, if you'd like a tranquilizer dart straight to poverty, then just win some money now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code Cornette. My last name, Cornette. Code Cornette to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins in partnership with DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
All right, our good friends at DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Help me breathe for a second now here. Just say anything while I just get my oxygen tank set up right here. And Brian, here we go. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY, I think, or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-78-97-777 or visit ccpg.org. That's easier. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois, 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
The crown is yours. From our good friends at DraftKings, and I'm yelling again, the crown is yours, is what I meant to say. Jim, as you catch your breath and we move on here with the show, a quick programming note. The next experience will have the review of WWE Raw after the Royal Rumble and AEW Dynamite, and next week's Drive Thru will be all history and your questions, so stay tuned for that. Well, Jim, as we begin to wrap up, we have a couple more things, and one of them's a bit of a follow-up, and just like we did the first time, I don't know exactly how to deal with all this just because I still don't know up from down. The Nick Lopiccolo, that's his name.
Oh, good Lord.
Nick Lopiccolo.
Nick Piccolo's at it again.
That's right. And
already,
again, there's been this back and forth with him and a lot of people online. He apparently, as the kids say, doxed Tony Khan, put his phone number and his email address up on Twitter so that people can, I guess, submit booking ideas. I don't know what. But a lot of listeners have gotten in touch. A lot of listeners apparently have thoughts on what exactly this is or what's caused it. Here's one. I'll just go to this real quick. This was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from JP in Columbus. Rather than give the detailed blow-by-blow of this ridiculousness, I just wanted to share how the whole thing started, if it hadn't been shared. It stems from Lopiccolo and other entertainment industry folks being invited to a show that AEW had at the Kia Forum. At the event, Nick and others complained at the lack of VIP treatment they received at the event, from lack of valet parking to the non-existent spread and bad seating location. He claimed that this is why...
not non-existent spread, like they were supposed to feed him too?
I presume that's what he meant there, and that may be what some
and
people...
And valet parking. If I invite you somewhere, hey, come to my show for free, I'll get you tickets. The only thing so far I'm hot about is they didn't get them good seats.
Well, again, you expect it a different way if the other show in town does it the other way. If WWE runs LA and they're going to have valet parking and give you catering and take care of you, give you good seats next to Nick Khan, it's a little different than... Here, you can sit opposite the camera side or whatever it is. But let's go back to this email. Nick claimed that this is why AEW is not taken seriously when compared to TKO and WWE. That is really the genesis of this whole ridiculous thing. Instead of saying his piece and going about his business, he chose to get down in the mud with the worst that online wrestling fandom has to offer, and it may cost him way more than he expected. And again, this is just a viewer here or someone who's seen it, JP in Columbus. Apparently, some of the AEW supporters / accounts that he's accusing of being bots or whatever it is, posted photos of his children. So, I mean, it has gotten too far, clearly. But I have an article here that can maybe sum up at least things from the Lopiccolo side, because it appears to be a...
Well, and again, from the other side of things, I said, well, fuck him if he wants to get fed for free. Hey, when I was on WWF shows, they didn't feed us, so I have no sympathy for anybody. But how can you possibly get mad enough at somebody for complaining about the fucking lack of VIP treatment enough to put pictures of their children out and bring their kids into it because he's complaining about Tony's lack of catering? This is the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard.
And someone said that letter we read last time that we said we couldn't really figure out like who it was about. Someone visited someone at their door. Someone said that was his mom. That someone apparently went to his mom's house about that. I don't know. I don't know, because again...
Well, I wish somebody to come to my mother's house about me sometime. To see what fucking happened to them.
She would have pulled the shotgun, wouldn't she?
Yeah, no, I said it wasn't a shotgun.
Oh, I thought it was a shotgun. No?
No, it was a rifle. Oh. She wasn't going to spray the whole neighborhood. She's very good at a .22 rifle. She was very good. She slept in bed with it under the covers when she lived alone.
You asked why anyone on that side would be mad about his complaints about catering and stuff. And I agree with you. It's kind of a frivolous thing. But playing devil's advocate, if you're Tony Khan, let alone his bot army or whatever the hell it is that he's saying is out there and people that help him, co-conspirators he called them, it's not just an agent and some Hollywood type at our LA show expecting perks. It's the agent of CM Punk and Jade Cargill going on social media, ripping on AEW. And it didn't take long for people to realize, oh shit, that's the agent for CM Punk and Jade Cargill. So that changes the dynamic a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Well, then why didn't Tony call him up and say, oh, geez, Nick, I'm sorry we didn't get you the, fucking pizza or the Mrs. Winter's chicken or whatever we were getting everybody else. Let's make it up to you. What, instead of just back and forth on Twitter?
Well, again, several listeners, and this is where we'll end it this week. We'll see what happens next week. Several listeners sent over this article that was posted on Twitter by John McMullen. And if I go to his profile here, it says, NFL Eagles Insider, SI Now on Eagles, so that's Sports Illustrated, JAKIB Sports, host of Birds 367, ESPN. So apparently this is a football
He's
reporter.
a busy man.
Yes.
Busy fellow.
The article says, exclusive, Wrestling Wars. AEW owner tried to silence outspoken critic. Professional wrestling's top feud isn't headlining WrestleMania in April. It's the no-holds-barred match between the owner of AEW, Tony Khan, and former Paradigm talent agent, Nick Lopiccolo. Khan is one of the most powerful people in professional wrestling, as well as the chief strategy officer of the NFL's Jacksonville Jaguars and vice chairman and director of football operations of the English Premier League's Fulham FC, organizations owned by his billionaire father, Shad Khan. Let me stop right away. Again, we'll go through this and see what facts are in here, but you can tell this is a very one-sided thing right off the bat. Lopiccolo reps some of the pro wrestling industry's biggest stars, like CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Tiffany Stratton, and Liv Morgan, along with ex-AEW talent like Jade Cargill, Blake Monroe, and Rusev. Lopiccolo has been a vocal thorn in AEW's side for many months, especially on social media, where the outspoken insider has pushed back against a tribalistic fan base, often fueled by the industry's longtime voice of record, veteran reporter Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer. An agent for nearly 2 decades, Lopiccolo has unique insights into the business end of pro wrestling, tied to his representation of top talent, which allows access to proprietary business information not available to the general public. Let me stop there because it's going to get to the roots of the feud here. Any thoughts on this so far?
Well, it sounds like that old Nick is a legitimate guy and that he's been in a legitimate business. And that's why I'm so stunned that he has been speaking the way he does and doing this whole thing on Twitter and sounding like one of these regular lunatics. If he's, or has he had a meltdown because did getting involved in wrestling drive a fucking normal goddamn executive crazy? Or what's going on with him?
Well, back to this article. The roots of the feud elevated quickly from petty trash talk to significant allegations of harassment and even stalking based on criticism of a wrestling company. Lopiccolo would often downplay Meltzer's business analysis, which Khan grew up with and now covets, according to multiple AEW sources. Oh, let me stop there. He covets Davis. I mean, I'm not saying, not even putting that Dave's business stuff. I mean, it's one thing I read it, he covets it. Covets? The goal is to enhance AEW's status as a challenger brand to the industry juggernaut, TKO's WWE, and its nearly $40 billion market cap. The back and forth between Meltzer and Lopiccolo was often entertaining, albeit childish at times, until it suddenly stopped when someone in the industry instructed Meltzer, and this is a quote, to stand down while signaling Lopiccolo's status in the industry. Let's stop there. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
No, who could, in what industry? What industry are we talking about? The newsletter industry or the wrestling industry or the football industry or the agenting industry?
It's the newsletter industry. Steve Beverly's on the line. He says, stand down.
Stand down.
Stand down, Dave.
God damn it. Oh. But who can tell Dave to stand down and why would he give a shit? I don't.
Well, back to this. Behind the scenes, Khan, or someone close to the family, had already called in a favor to silence the bombastic Lopiccolo a one-time safety at the University of Delaware.
What?
It worked to an extent. Paradigm gave Lo Piccolo explicit instructions to refrain from making or publishing any statements on any platform, including X, that could be interpreted as disparaging, defamatory, or antagonistic towards any individual or entity, including but not limited to Tony Khan or AEW.
Wait a minute. So to any individual or entity in the world, he can never say another negative thing about anybody?
Well, not necessarily negative. He can't say anything disparaging, defamatory, or antagonistic. Antagonistic's the one that may be a step too far. Defamatory and disparaging is fine, but you can't antagonize.
I would go with disparaging and antagonizing before I'd go with defamatory, because defamatory sounds like the only thing is legally actionable.
Paradigm was also contacted by a reporter around the same time, not believed to be Meltzer, who complained about Lo Piccolo's online behavior and statements, believing them to be veiled threats, and that's a quote. It came off as a concerted effort to damage Lo Piccolo's reputation and threaten his job status, according to a talent agency associate not authorized to speak on the matter. Lo Piccolo's anger stemmed from that alleged effort to harm him and his family from those loyal to Khan, and perhaps even the executive himself, with troubling accusations of doxing and threats from the extremes of the internet wrestling community. Let's stop there for a second.
The extremes of the internet wrestling community.
Because over the last 10 years, you and I have seen the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the internet wrestling community. On several different occasions, they've come after us.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what? Here's the thing for the internet wrestling community. Okay, block them on Twitter. Done. There you go. Again, for both these guys, Tony Khan as a executive, an owner of this allegedly $1 million company and all the shit he's got going on, to be back and forth on Twitter or whatever with this guy. This guy is a sports agent with a big agency. If he wants to fucking joust with a guy on Twitter every once in a while, fine. But to have a war go on and then whine about it. If somebody had knocked on my mother's door about something that I did related to the wrestling business in an antagonistic way, I would not be tweeting about it to the guy. I would be fucking on the phone, because actually Nick's an agent. He flies around. I'd be knocking on the guy's office door. Hey, Tony, we got some shit to talk about here. But it wouldn't be on Twitter.
When it came to real-world consequences, any social media accusations paled in comparison to and this is a quote, manager with a relationship to Mr. Khan and AEW who complained repeatedly to Paradigm about Lo Piccolo's criticism of Khan and AEW.
Oh, wait a minute. A manager, does that mean a wrestling manager or a manager of a company? Or how is that? Is it in quotation marks, or what the fuck is?
The manager's name was Jim Cornette, the tennis racket wielding troublemaker.
I don't have any connections to Tony Khan or whatever. But anyway, back up, start over. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
Interrupted.
The manager was Bernie Cahill, a founding partner of Activist Artist Management, a full-service talent management, integrated media, and advisory firm based in West Hollywood, California, funded in large part by Shad Khan. The pushback was enough.
So wait a minute. So this Bernie guy is head of a company that Shad Khan put the money up for, or whatever the fuck, and he did what again now to who?
According to this article, he called Paradigm, which were the former employers of Lo Piccolo, the agency, to make multiple complaints about his behavior towards Tony Khan and AEW.
So Shad's Cadbury, his butler there, that is calling up, hey, you're picking on my friend's son.
Well, this guy's a big deal in Hollywood looking here. He owns He's got a lot of things going on. Used to date.
Apparently, all these people are big deals in Hollywood, and they can't get their shit together.
Well, back to the article here, Jim. The pushback was enough that Paradigm again warned Lo Piccolo to keep quiet about AEW, citing potential legal exposure stemming from defamatory remarks against financially well-heeled adversaries. A source with AEW said that Khan was, and this is a quote, particularly troubled by Lo Piccolo's claim that AEW's media rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery wasn't the $185 million in cash per year most wrestling reporters have cited.
Oh!
Let's stop there for a second, because that's an interesting little twist. We see what Dave reports about AEW, which coincidentally enough is almost exactly what AEW wants people to think about everything, but we never see anything tangible when it comes to buy rates, the ratings for Max, and in terms of the money
or the television rights deal, more specifically, the amount of same.
The expenditures, I mean, everything with AEW. So here's this article, and it appears, I mean, if you asked me as a layman, I would tell you that Nick Lo Piccolo is absolutely the source for this article. That would be my guess. I don't know that. But he's saying here that that's one of the issues. That's an interesting thing that Tony would be bothered by that. Again, they've been hiding who owns AEW for a long time. They're desperate not to let that get out in court for some reason. Who are the actual owners of AEW?
On paper.
Let's go back to this article. Why the semantics of a deal worth up to 170 to 185 million, according to an industry insider, versus 185 million in cash was so important to Khan is unknown. Although the all-cash presumption has prompted Meltzer to consistently proclaim AEW, a private company that keeps its books behind closed doors, is now profitable for the first time, based on his own internal guesswork. Let's stop there for a moment.
Down deep in my heart, I guess the following is true.
So again, this is saying the semantics of a deal which is worth up to 170 to 185 million versus 185 million in cash, which is the version of facts that AEW has allowed to permeate, whether or not.
What's the option other than cash? Would they be giving Tony stock in their company like some kind of souped up Podcast One deal? How else would they be paying him besides cash, unless there's something tied to the fact that we just found out here recently that WBD owns 9% or whatever the exact percentage is, under 10% of AEW, which would give them obviously no particular voting power per se, because Tony always said nobody has decision-making control over AEW but me. Well, that's true. But somebody else could own a piece and be a silent partner, which we now know is true also. So how they are compensating them on this television rights deal, is there some caveat that, well, but we take out this as our part of the pay-per-views because it's on Max, or is that part of the pay that we're paying to you, or you paying to us for our 9%? What the fuck is going on? Tony don't want anybody to know this.
And we don't know it. Again, it's a private company. They don't have to reveal anything. Things quieted for a time, but amped up again in recent days with Lo Piccolo announcing his exit from Paradigm, which many AEW fans celebrated on social media. One X account of particular interest was started a few months after the debut of AEW in 2019, @Ron11479281, a self-described burner account which seemed to possess some significant industry knowledge despite having under 10 followers. The account began tweaking Lo Piccolo, but went dark after the agent tagged NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell earlier this week. The @Ron11479281 account and similar X accounts also began disappearing after Lo Piccolo brought them to light. let's stop there. You know, we talked about whether or not Tony Khan was behind that specific account and whether or not Tony Khan has burner accounts. I would put money on Tony Khan having multiple accounts everywhere. It was pointed out to me a long time ago, one of his aliases on a message board. I won't even point it out, so to ruin that for anyone else who enjoys it. But he's out there. Again, this has been his life going back to the mid-90s, an online life. It just so happens he has a billionaire dad. But this is a guy who, if his dad was making $1 million or $10, whatever it was, he would be online all day. That's just who he is. So the idea that he's out there shit posting, causing trouble, acting like a heel online, I would put money down that he's doing it. I just don't know if he's the one behind this Ron account.
It's just, it's insane to me that all of these people have this much fucking time on their hands, that they can do these things and make these fake accounts and do all the posting and the tweeting and the et cetera, et cetera. But I agree with you, Tony, if anybody, Tony would be in multiple places on the internet under multiple names and talking to people constantly.
Khan, meanwhile, did a quick video from the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, discussing how busy he was with the NFL draft prep, the EPL transfer window, and Wednesday night's AEW Dynamite show. By the way, that seems like he's too busy for all of those things. There is no direct evidence that Khan has turned into the wrestling world's version of Brian Colangelo with an actual burner account, but Lil Piccolo believes the AEW Kingpin is behind the shenanigans. Ironically, in April of 2022, Khan intimated that WWE was funding anti-AEW bots. The below-the-belt back and forth has continued from there, with useful idiots, that's in quotes, from both sides of a toxic community, turning to the kind of low blows that would make heel John Cena proud, accusing both combatants of everything from mental health issues to illicit drug use. Lil Piccolo also left X for a short period, citing concern for his clients, before returning on Friday.
I think somebody could have got just on the phone and cussed somebody in 3 or 4 minutes and prevented all of this. A good 3 or 4 minute cussing on the phone sometimes can prevent, continued drama.
I don't know. I think even if you want your agent to be kind of a bulldog, and there's lots of guys who do, there's lots of different agents, and some of them are just fighters. Ari Emanuel, famously a fighter. I just don't know if you want him doing it online against just any Twitter account they see. I'm not saying that he's wrong I'm just saying I don't know if I would want that from my agent if I was a star with an agent.
Well, but you know what? He's trying to make him think he's crazy. And that way they'll be like, oh shit, we got to give this guy whatever he wants because he's crazy.
Well, again, my advice for everyone, for Nick, especially Tony, get off Twitter. Stop booking by Twitter. Stop causing trouble on Twitter. And Nick should probably get off Twitter too. And breathe. Go touch grass, as has been said before, all of you. But Jim, one more thing before we wrap things up this week.
Why are they always trying to steal Tony's weed?
One more thing before we wrap things up this week. I have on my desk what is this? Does it have a month on it? Is it covered up by this label? I don't know when it's from. The latest PWI, the 2025 Wrestling Awards.
Oh, good Lord.
People love getting your opinions on these things for some reason. So why don't we go to it? The 2025 Pro Wrestling Illustrated Year in Pro Wrestling Awards. Jim, the Rookie of the Year. Who would you give Rookie of the Year to?
Braun Breaker.
Kendall Gray, Rookie of the Year with 28% of the vote. Kendall Gray from NXT, I believe. Also on the list.
Who is it? Have we seen him?
It's a girl. It's a girl.
All right.
Looks very
Kendall
happy.
Windham wants a word.
Well, with his long hair, he looked like a girl too, actually. But the Texas Outlaws got 24%, and those are Wayne and Wyatt Rhodes. Reese Maddox got 8%, the son of WWE referee Jason Ayers. And finally, Callie Armstrong. Jim, the most improved wrestler of the year.
Those are the rookies of the year. Okay.
It's a different world than it used to be, Jim. But when we talk about 2025, most improved, who did you see and you said, you know what, they've improved a lot?
Oh, good Lord. Who has gotten better? None of the above?
With 23% of the vote, Harley Cameron, the most improved wrestler of the year. Followed by JC Jane with 17%, Raquel Rodriguez with 10%, and with 6%, Bear Bronson. Well, Harley Cameron, she's gotten better.
If I was Rochelle there, I would be pissed off at the company that I was in and not beaten.
Jim, the comeback of the year. Who had the comeback of the year for 2025?
Who came back? Let's see. Who went away? Comeback is usually from a big injury, but did somebody come back? Oh, one of the Bellas. They'd say one of the Bellas came back, and that's a big deal.
Well, you're kind of right. With 27% of the vote, John Cena, comeback of the year. 27% of the vote, followed by 21% for AJ Lee, 10% for Bandito, not from Bandito, and 8% for Kenny Omega.
Well, I forgot about it. Actually, it should have been AJ Lee, because...
More than Cena?
Well, Cena came back in 2024 to tell us he was retiring in 2025, didn't he?
I guess so. Yeah, you're right.
So I've caught him.
All right. Well, the most inspirational wrestler of the year. Who inspires you, Jim?
Gunther.
All right. Not a traditional pick. Interesting.
Well, he inspires me that there's still hope for the wrestling business.
With 17% of the vote, Mike Santana, the TNA World Champion. Mike Santana, the inspirational wrestler of the year.
What did he inspire in me or in us?
He overcame the crippling disorder of working for Tony Khan.
Well, that's okay. That's often fatal.
10% for Adam Page, 9% for Dustin Rhodes, 8% for Jey Uso. The most popular wrestler of the year, Jim, the most popular wrestler of the year. Who do you think this would be?
Well, one would immediately go to Cody Rhodes because he is the nominal top babyface in the WWE, the largest company, but still is he the most popular? Because possibly CM Punk might be more popular, or perhaps, well, I would say Jey Uso 6 or 8 months ago. Punk's the most popular.
Interesting pick. I'll go backwards here with 11% Jey Uso, with 13% John Cena, with 15% Cody Rhodes, and the winner, most popular wrestler of 2025 with 18%, Timeless Tony Storm.
Oh, for Christ's sake. I wasn't really arguing with much until they got past Cody Rhodes. If Tony Storm is in their minds more popular than Cody Rhodes, to be popular, people have to know who the fuck you are. And the comparison is staggering. And that's not even reflective of either one's ability. It's just mathematical fact. Many more people know who Cody is, see him and watch him than Tony Storm.
Jim, the most hated wrestler of 2025. Who do you think?
Well, maybe a year before that, I might have said Dominic Mysterio, just because he had the heat thing going on, but now they're liking him. And at one time, it probably would have been MJF, but that's long gone. I don't think since they're trying to appeal to smart fans, they're not going to say Drew McIntyre because he's the biggest heel in the biggest company. Moxley. Old Dick the Boozer was still a heel, so they got to give him something.
Well, you actually named a couple of the finalists, but with 9% one of the finalists, Jon Moxley, 10%, although not a wrestler, Don Callis, 15% Dominic Mysterio, and the winner with 16% of the vote, Logan Paul.
Forgot about Logan Paul. I can't argue with that.
And he's posing with the photo, so WWE allowed their talent to take photos with the awards. Feud of the year for 2025, Jim.
I can't remember who was doing what in what year over the last couple of years that we've talked about so much, but the feud, Punk and Rollins, because of the highlight for me was the mixed tag match.
Well, you got one. Feud of the year, 30% of the vote, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins.
There you go.
Followed by 21% for Mariah May versus Toni Storm, 8% for Adam Page versus Jon Moxley, and 7% for, who the hell is this? Oh, NXT versus TNA. The Indie Wrestler of the Year.
Oh, Christ.
Jim, who would win? And I'll play spoiler. For some reason, maybe the editor's crush, I really don't know. For some reason, this person got the cover for this issue. The Indie Wrestler of the Year for 2025. Who do you think?
Well, then now you've told it's got to be a girl then if the editor's got a crush on her. Who's an indie girl?
Well, you're not going to get it, so I'll just give it to you. Shotzi
Megan
Blackheart.
Brain. Shotzi Blackheart.
With 31% of the vote, and she got the cover. Again, we're talking about 2025 year in wrestling. If I wanted to sell magazines, no disrespect, I don't know if I'd be putting Shotzi Blackheart on the cover.
Did she wrestle this past year? How long has she been gone? We haven't seen her in ages. What's happened?
I'm reading the description here. She had a battle with Matt Cardona, who came in second place with 22. And
it sounds like a battle with psoriasis. The way you made it sound. She had a difficult battle with cancer, but fortunately.
It says that she wrestled in Canada, Japan, the UK, and the United States. So I don't really know what the hell she was doing. Followed by, again, Matt Cardona. Then with 7%, one called Manders. And at 6%, Effie. Jim, match of the year. What was the best match you saw in 2025? I'm sure it didn't win, but what was the best match you saw in 2025?
Well, but besides the mixed tag team match, goddamn. The mixed tag team match. At least I remember it.
With 12%, the winning match, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, August 3rd. Followed by Mariah May versus Toni Storm on,
oh boy,
what is that, March 9th? Awful type they're using here. Followed by Bianca Belair versus Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley, which I think won a different award. Followed by Adam Page versus Jon Moxley. Tag Team of the Year, Jim, your specialty.
Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed.
The Hardy Boys. The Hardys.
What year is this? 1990? What?
They got 18% of the vote, followed by Brodito with 13%. The Allies of Convenience of Charlotte and Alexa with 12%. And the Hurt Syndicate with 11%. The Hardys. Any thoughts?
Years ago, yeah, but now it's an indictment of there are no tag teams anymore, or the few that exist have been made meaningless. That's why I went with Reed and Breaker, because they've been featured on top.
Boy, some of these really are an indictment of whoever's voting for this. Faction of the Year, Jim. The Faction of the Year.
The Vision.
They came in fourth with 12%. In front of them was the Judgment Day with 15%. And the Death Riders with 21%. But the winning faction, the Don Callis family.
Oh, come on.
24% of the vote.
There's 24 people. Each person in it got 1%. Nobody can stand there with a straight face and say that slop together bunch of individuals with a manager that doesn't even try to manage is better than the goddamn main event heel stable under Paul Heyman in the goddamn WWE. I'm sorry. You can dream all you want, but it ain't happening.
Well, Jim, Woman of the Year. Who would get your vote for Woman of the Year?
Michelle Obama.
I don't believe she was one of the candidates here this year.
Oh, you mean woman wrestler of the year?
This may not be her year.
Oh.
Yes.
Then I'm going to, I know they won't say Rhea Ripley only because she's so dominant that everybody's jealous. So let's go with Liv Morgan.
With 28% of the vote, Mercedes Moné.
Oh, for Christ's
Woman
sake.
of the Year, followed up by Toni Storm with 24%, Stephanie Vaquer with 14%, and finally Io Sky with 7%.
And again, none of the major actual box office attractions in women's wrestling made the top. Okay.
And that's Woman of the Year. Instead of Male of the Year, they have Wrestler of the Year. Jim, who would you give Wrestler of the Year to?
Well, maybe they're making a subtle little knock at that the women's grappling. Boy, at the very top guy this year in the entire business. Again, one could say Cody, one could say Punk, one could say Rollins because this, his injury. This would have been before the injury. Cody.
Once again, you got one. Cody Rhodes, 27% Wrestler of the Year, followed by, with 12%, Mercedes Moné.
Oh, come.
9% for Adam Page and 7% for CM Punk.
So they just have to spread it around so that, one company doesn't particularly get mad at him, although I don't know that the WWE would even care, right? So they're being charitable to Tony, so he'll still give him access.
Well, Jim, those are the awards. There was also the Stanley Weston Award, which went to, it looks like, 2 people. For a Lifetime Achievement, Shawn Michaels, the famed cross-eyed kid of the new generation of WWE, Lifetime Achievement, as well as Bryan Danielson, a trainee of Shawn Michaels, actually. He also wins.
Well, I see how they tied that in there together. Well, that's just swell.
And that's
Stanley Weston must be spinning in his grave.
Stanley Weston would burn this. I'm sorry. This is not, this could be so much more. Whatever. There it is, the PWI 2025 Wrestling Awards. Any final thoughts on this, Jim?
Yes. Again, they're just writing names down late at night to say who won't be mad at us if we say this, and we'll still get some of the fans to buy the magazines because these are the people that the fans who buy magazines like. The end. Yeah,
you would think this magazine's definitely catering towards pervy wrestling fans, as well as fans who just like things that aren't popular. I really don't know. Questionable votes here, but those are the awards. And Jim, with that, oh shit, did I lose this? With that.
Uh-oh.
That's all sorts of shit fucking...
Sounds like a barbed wire fence being unstrung.
Jim, with that, the drive-thru is closed. Of course, we'll return in a few days on the Jim Cornette Experience, and next week, back here on the drive-thru, go through the archive. Patreon.com. Someone's stuffing a duck. Patreon.com/Cornette. $5 a month gets you access to the archive going back to 2013. Patreon.com/Cornette. Of course, the official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. It'll come right up. Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, and so much more. That George Livonitis artwork. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. What's going on, Jim?
Boy, howdy, I just talked to Hotchkiss Featherbottom about a day or so ago, and you ain't going to believe what we are going to have for sale at JimCornette.com in about a month or so. Details to come.
At JimCornette.com. The drive-thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New, 877-50-STEVE. Get even with Stephen at newlawoffice.com. But until the experience in a few days, and next week back here on the drive-thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!
Oh.